All right, good morning, good morning, good morning. 10:02 Wednesday, October 22nd. Welcome into Baseball and Coffee. Where is my coffee? Here's my coffee. Little Cafe Devocion action for me today. My coffee, little Brooklyn-based spot. It's been really good. They have the Columbia, get the beans straight from Columbia in very short order. So nice fresh coffee. That's what we've been working with today. Thanks for you guys hanging with me. We had a great stream yesterday, really good one. We went really, really long. I thought and deep, just kind of going back over Game 7 of that ALCS, but now it is definitely time to turn our full attention towards the World Series. I'm not going to have a stream tomorrow on Thursday. I have a meeting in the city, so can't make it for the usual time. But what we'll do is we'll do an overview of the series today for the most part. We'll have my friend Joel Sherman of the New York Post come on at 11, give us his quick thoughts before he gets on the plane and goes to Toronto for a media day tomorrow, which is tomorrow, obviously up there at the start of this series. So we'll have him give us his quick initial read, but we'll do a little bit of studying today. There's been some previous showdowns between these teams, so we'll see what we can learn from there, and then we'll just kind of go right in. So thanks for hanging with me today as we get ready for Friday. Oh, so this is beautiful. Yeah, at first I thought maybe I was going to hold the stream down a little bit later, but we ended up getting here on the normal time, so it's all good. It's all good. All right, so I say we just hit the notes, and obviously whatever comes up in the chat, we'll go from there, and we will get ourselves, slightly prepared for Friday, and then we'll key in a little bit more on Game 1 itself Friday morning on the MLB stream. I think I'm going to have Kevin Kiermaier. That's the early word, Kevin Kiermaier, on the stream with me on Friday on the simulcast stream. Pretty good guy to have on, considering he played for both of these clubs just last year, Blue Jays and Dodgers. So he should have some insight for us as we head into Game 1 of the World Series. In the meantime, these are the rosters. Now, things are going to change. A big question in this series is Bo Bichette. How will he be used? So we'll definitely talk about that a little bit, but you kind of know all the players. We've been covering these teams for a while now. So let's get into the packet. Let's just see what the talking points are today. Happy 52nd birthday to Hall of Famer Ichiro Suzuki. Still playing, still fully warmed up. Literally like out there in his uniform every day, taking outfield drills like he's going to play the game at 7 o'clock and then goes home. So he's a freaking legend. Obviously, first ballot Hall of Famer, but 52 today. On this date, 10 years ago, the Dodgers and Don Mattingly mutually decided to part ways despite a year remaining on his contract. He had a .551 winning percentage in the regular season, but they went 8-11 in the playoffs with one series victory while he was helming the team. And then 1 month later, the Dodgers hired Dave Roberts as his replacement. Mattingly went on to manage the Marlins for 7 more years before landing on Toronto's coaching staff in November 22. He's the Blue Jays bench coach. So obviously, Donnie Baseball has a tie to both teams in this series. This is the first ever World Series for Donnie Baseball. He's been in baseball a long time. I believe he played 12 years, managed for like another 15 years, and then he's been a coach for 17 years. So it took him a long time to get to the World Series, but the great Donnie Baseball, one of my early baseball heroes, finally makes it to the World Series as the bench coach in this one for the Blue Jays. And yes, obviously, we just said he is connected to the Dodgers as well. He managed them for a long time. Stats to know: this is just the 5th time since the LCS expanded to a best-of-7 format that we've had one LCS result in a sweep and the other goes 7 games. Oh, the 5th time. Yeah, I was going to say, we've been talking about this. This isn't a first time thing. 88, 06, 07, and 12. And each of those 4 times, the 7-game team, the team that came out of the 7-game series went on to win. They were a little sharper, and they ended up taking it to the team that had swept. It's a good comment by Dano. It's true. That's a legendary Don Mattingly, the Hitman poster. My friend Jared had it, I believe, in his room growing up. So it's a good comment there. The Dodgers recorded their second ever sweep in a best-of-7 series. The last one was in '63, World Series versus the Yanks. They limited the Brewers to the 118 average, which is what we've talked about. Lowest average ever in a postseason series of 3 or more games. So it's funny because the Dodgers are known for their top-heavy superstar offense. Mookie, Shohei, Freddie, as well as Teoscar, Will Smith are big-time players. But I think the hallmark of this team is the starting pitching. So obviously Shohei's in that group as well. But Yamamoto, Snell, and Glasnow arguably are the engine driving this team right now. Hey Adam, was there a pitcher in recent memory who might have been a top hitter if they were allowed to practice batting and bat regularly besides Shohei? Of course, it's hard thing to look up. So two-way players in my lifetime, this is a good quick question. We'll take a quick pause on the notes to answer this question because I want to just have the chat direct us. Two-way guys, potential two-way guys that kind of came up during my time frame. Two from Tulane, Micah Owings and Brian Bogusevic were both drafted as two-way guys. Micah Owings did get some at-bats in the big leagues for the Diamondbacks, but he was a pitcher. They would use him as a pinch hitter sometimes, and he did a good job, but he was never really given the free rein to do both full time. Bogusevic was originally, I believe, developed as a pitcher. Then they pulled the plug on that, made him an outfielder with Houston, ended up getting a little bit of time in the big leagues as an outfielder, I believe. So he was a possible guy. There was also Brooks Kieschnick, if you guys remember this guy. He was a Brewer. He was kind of a two-way possibility as well. I'm trying to think who else. There's been a few others. There's certainly been some good hitters. Travis Wood was a good hitter. Zach Greinke would have been a great possibility. He was a great hitter, actually. Adam Wainwright was a good hitter. Travis Wood was a guy that Joe Maddon would pitch, put in the outfield, put back to pitch. I thought that was cool. So those are a couple guys that come off the top of my head. I'm sure there's some others I'm forgetting. Adam Lowen. Adam Lowen was a Canadian, 4th or 5th pick in the draft. Right around the time, so 03 draft, 03, 04 draft, my high school class. He was known as a freaking legend in Canada, gonna be the guy. Ended up making it to the big leagues both ways, pitching and hitting, but only briefly for both. Never really stuck with either, so maybe the pursuit of both took away the greatness in one in that situation. I don't know. Another name to think about is Rick Ankiel. Rick Ankiel obviously was a superstar pitcher. 20 years old, got the yips, developed the yips, comes back as a hitter, ends up being a pretty good hitter, hit some home runs in the playoffs, and played a long time. So he's a great example. We have some other people in the chat here. Zambrano was a good hitter. Carlos Zambrano was a switch hitting beast for the Cubs. So these are some people that come to mind, but none of those guys were really given too much chance in the secondary role. Shohei's been a little bit unique. Anthony Gose is another one. I actually played with him a little bit in winter ball last year. He's still chucking it 100 miles an hour. So, people try to do this, but it's definitely easier said than done. Now, there's a lot of guys that are converted big league pitchers, like Kenley Jansen, Jason Mott was like this, that you don't realize they were conversions, that they were position players for a while in pro ball, and then they became conversions. So, I think that's pretty good. It's pretty good on that question, and we'll head back over here. The Blue Jays are the 18th team to win the pennant back to 2012. That's 60% of the league. By comparison, just 13 of the NFL's 32 teams have appeared in the Super Bowl dating back to 2012. So it is true in terms of actual results. MLB has enjoyed, some decent amount of parity. There's been 60% of the league has won the pennant. So I don't know if that's good or bad, but it's something. It's a stat. The Dodgers are the first reigning champ to return to the series since 2009. We've talked about that a few times. Last time it was the Phillies. It's been really hard to repeat, in general, whether it's just to win the CS or to win the World Series. Nobody's really done it since the Yankees back in the day, 98 to 2000. But it's been really, really hard. And I wonder a little bit about if that's more of a function of that the playoffs are such a crapshoot in baseball, or if that's just more of a function of the competition constantly changing and the player movement and stuff like that. But either way, nobody's really been able to do this. So this would be big if the Dodgers can do it. They'd be the first repeat champion in a long time. Kike Hernandez's next game will be his 86th postseason game in a Dodger uniform, matching Justin Turner's franchise record. So it's pretty great. I talked about this before. I love it for both of these guys. Justin Turner from LA, kind of kicked to the curb by the Mets and the Orioles, respectively. Ends up with the Dodgers. Goes through a swing change. Becomes a postseason hero and a Dodger legend, all-time Dodger legend. They have murals of this guy. Ends up being the all-time leader in Dodgers playoff game appearances, only to be broken by another guy who has a similar story, kind of left for dead by Houston and Miami. Ends up in LA, finds his way under the tutelage of Chase Utley and also probably Justin Turner a little bit. Ends up becoming a really outstanding and useful utility player. Takes a little detour to Boston for a minute, comes back to Dodgers, continues to be Senor Octubre in the postseason, and now he's about to be the all-time franchise record holder for playing postseason games. This will be his 86th game, so obviously he'll get to minimum 86, 87, 89 games. So he's going to have a chance to play in 100 postseason games for the Dodgers if he sticks around next year, which is pretty amazing. And yes, I know it's not really fair to the old timers because there wasn't as many games, but it's still a cool stat. Teams are now 24-5 without homering the opposition in this postseason. Yeah, no shit. Home runs score runs, so that makes sense. Interesting though, I mean, the Blue Jays just went through 2 home run hitting teams. They went through the Yankees and they went through the Mariners. Both of those teams' offense is driven by home runs. Dodgers are as well, to some extent. So can they take down all 3 of the top home run hitting teams? Now, is that the case? Is it all 3? Let's just do a quick little check on that. Statistics, league batting 2025. Home runs. Most home runs. Yankees, Dodgers, Mariners. Those are all 3 of the teams that the Blue Jays will have to take down if they want to win the title. The top 3 teams in home runs. The only teams to go over 225, except for the Angels this year, are those 3. Blue Jays, where are they at? They are down here with 191 homers. So, can they take them down? That's the question. They've taken down 2 home run hitting offenses already, and we'll just have to see if they can take down the 3rd. What else we got here? Blue Jays and Dodgers both have 52 comeback wins this season, tied for most in the majors, including playoffs. I find comeback wins to be an interesting stat because, a comeback could be a 1-0 deficit in the first that you overcome. They're not all created equal. I wish the stat was cleaned up a little bit. But either way, 52 times they were losing in a game they came back to win this year. That's the most in the big leagues. Probably something you're going to need to do if you want to go the whole way. You're not going to be able to just play out front forever. This was a big indictment on the Mets this year. They came back from 0 games from the 8th inning on, I believe, this year. So, you miss out on the playoffs by 1 game. They needed magic 1 day or 2 days to get their foot in the door, and it didn't happen. That's an important part. You can't quit. You got to find a way sometimes to get wins, even if they're sloppy, even if they're come from behind. Most comeback wins this season, including playoffs: Blue Jays, Dodgers, Mariners, another team that did really well, and the Phillies. So if you look at it, all those teams are postseason teams, and even in the next 3, Braves, Padres, Brewers, all but the Braves are postseason teams as well. Game 7 of the ALCS averaged 6 million viewers on Sportsnet in Canada, with their broadcast reaching 11.8 million Canadians in total. Those are staggering numbers for a nation of roughly 41 million citizens. So about a quarter of the citizens were locked in watching the Blue Jays on Sportsnet, and I've talked about this a little bit. I think this is the coolest thing ever that they have their own, their own broadcast going. First of all, it's great for MLB because MLB's getting so much exposure to a secondary market besides the U.S. here, the Canadian market, and you're getting a quarter of their viewership for your games right now, which is great. They're going to have a World Series broadcast as well, which I love. But man, that's impressive. So you got the Fox and the Sportsnet coming at the same time, and I just think it's great for the Canadian fans and the Blue Jay fans that they get to stick with their announcers the whole year. What do we got here in the chat? Jays gave up the 6th most dingers in the regular season this year too, so you would think that would be a bad combination. Dinger allowing pitching staff versus dinger hitting team, and it almost didn't work against Seattle. But one thing about the Blue Jays, because they don't really have anybody to because they don't have anybody really to like sit around and wait on, like like in terms of like they don't have like that ace reliever. I guess they're using Varlin in that role, but they don't have that ace reliever to like just completely only let him do the bulk lifting. Like they're going to use everybody. You saw how they used it in Game 7. Gosman pitched, Bassett pitched. In this series, I think Fluharty is going to be a big matchup guy for Shohei and for Freddie. They're going to use everyone. Even Little probably gets some more work in this series. So it's a little bit different, I would say, with the Blue Jays coming in now because they can kind of mix and match through it and try to not match up their home run pitchers with the home run hitters of the Dodgers. But it's going to be a ton of matching up, and I think it's going to be played out a little differently. Where I think the Dodgers are just going to try to lean on them with really like their top 7 or 8 pitchers, the 4 starters plus I would say Roki, Trinan, Vesia, and Sheehan. So you're talking 8 guys is really all the Dodgers want to pitch. Beyond that, they might have to pitch some other guys, but I find that a little interesting. How do you stay locked into a game that looks like it's out of reach as a pitcher? So this is like the little games you play with yourself action. Like sometimes you're in a pitching role where your job is to mop it up. Your job isn't to pitch the big moments, but you have to go out there and it has to be your World Series. Like it has to be more important to you than the situation is, right? So even if the game's out of hand, at the end of the season, nobody's looking at the back of your baseball card and saying, oh, you know what? He couldn't focus in this game because the game was out of hand. Like, no, you have to get outs regardless. So this is a little bit of a trick that you have to learn how to, condition your mind to be ready to compete at all times, regardless of the stakes. And I think some people struggle with this, but ultimately this is a skill. This is a skill. And oftentimes this is how you get your foot in the door. You're not going to get the job you want day one, right? You're not going to come right in most of the time and they're going to be like, oh, here's the 9th inning, here's the 8th inning, here's this role. It's like you're going to get what you get, and you have to kind of make the most of it. And if you're not locked in, that's going to crush you. So you have to find out a way for it to mean a lot to you, regardless of the score. Yeah, we're going to talk a lot about the comp between the Brewers and the Jays as well. In terms of the contact things, I just think the Jays lineup right now is a lot better than where the Brewers lineup was at the State. In the actual moment of the season of the series starting, like the Brewers are a little bit in shambles. Yelich is in a horrible slump. Nobody's really swinging the bat well on that team except for Chourio, and he has a hamstring thing, so that was a little bit of a lingering issue. Vaughn's good, but they could mess with Vaughn. They figured out how to pitch to him. There wasn't a ton of threats. Whereas the Jays, I mean, look at the bottom of the order. They had like a 900 OPS games 3 through 7 in the spots 5 through 9. So those guys, Clement, he's having a burner of a postseason. Jimenez has looked really good. Barger as well. IKF has been useful, and now they have Bichette back in the mix, so that's going to be interesting as well. Let's see here. If there's somehow a Game 7 in the series, 20 million Canadians will watch it. I bet. Yeah, you're right. You're right. I should not have necessarily looked at the yearly stats, but I did think it was just interesting to look at how these offenses are overall built. You should probably look after the deadline. That makes more sense. More of the current state of things. Do I believe in the story? Good pitching beats good hitting every time. Yes, but I think in these 7-game series where you have to constantly pitch, I think the needle swings back to the hitters as the series moves on, especially the teams that can adjust. So, yeah, I do, but I don't. All right, this is a great idea. We're going to do this. We're going to do this today. Let me just get through the notes a little bit, and then we'll definitely watch some at-bats. All right. Darren Daulton was the catcher the last time a World Series pitch was thrown in Toronto in '93 for the Phillies. 30 years after Gary Varsho became friends with Darren Daulton on the '95 Phillies, his son Dalton Varsho, named for the Philly backstop, will appear for the Jays in the 2025 Fall Classic. So that's sort of weird. Darren Daulton was the catcher of the Phillies. His dad, Dalton Varsho's dad, Gary Varsho, played with Darren Daulton, named his son Dalton after his friend Darren Daulton, and now he's playing in the World Series for the Jays. So it's all very intertwined, but that's sort of fun. But Buddy Kennedy and Jose Urena played for both teams this year, so they each get a World Series ring no matter the result. I remember this happening with Benji Molina years ago with Texas and San Fran, I believe. Pretty good place to be. You already know that you're a champ, no matter what happens. Obviously, you're not participating in this, so it's not the same, but you're gonna get that ring. I was hoping for a little, wasn't I hoping for a free ring this year from the Yanks? I kind of was. Yeah, not gonna lie. All right. We've already gone over these notes yesterday. These are all the same. Here are some of the storylines. This is funny. Hey, honey, I think we should name our son after my friend from work. On Friday, Canada will host its first World Series game in a lot of days. That's right, it'll be the first Fall Classic game on Canadian soil since the Joe Carter game ending, series ending, World Series ending, home run. Expect Rogers Center to be very loud. Rogers Center was insanely loud the other day. I know we had some people from the chat that were actually at the game, and they were writing in my comments a little bit yesterday on some of my on some of the stuff from the stream yesterday about how loud it was. I've been saying it. That horn, that home run horn that they do, that hockey horn or whatever that is, dude, you can hear that thing. It just vibrates right through your body when you're an opposing pitcher. I remember potentially starting to get the nervous feelings to come into to an extra inning game there potentially when I was with the Yankees one time. And in the old days before they renovated the bullpen, we were kind of below the bleachers, and the visiting team weight room was like down the hallway, and that's where the bathroom was. So, you know, as a pitcher, as a relief pitcher, you get nervous a lot. You get nervous a lot during games, and you have to pee. Like, you get the nervous pees. So I had to go pee. So the game was tied. I don't remember who was pitching for us. Maybe Jay Happ, somebody like that. And I went to go pee because I knowing I was probably going to have to warm up in a second. And while I was in the bathroom, I heard a dull crowd noise. And then I heard the burp, burp. And I just knew we lost. I knew that was the game over. Somebody hit a home run. I believe it was Bichette, maybe. I think he hit a walk-off against us this game. But it was funny just to... like, that horn is like the signal of death for an opposing pitcher. Like, a home run just happened. That's worst case scenario. And I think it's actually really cool, and it's a great sound effect. I love unique sound effects that stadiums have that are unique to them. Like, that horn is great. I love that when, like, in Cleveland, when they score a run, every time they score a run, it makes the sound of, like, in Super Mario when you get a coin. Like, as if they just picked up another coin. I love that. I love the strikeout noises, like in Fenway, when the Red Sox pitchers strike out a batter, you get the Ric Flair, the whoop whoop, and then, like, you know, in Yankee Stadium they have the PC Richard and Son, do 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 do. So I love all that stuff. Dodgers do the strikeout with the dun 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 dun. You know, teams have different things, but that horn, that home run horn, in Toronto is iconic for me. Very very iconic for me, if you ask me. And you didn't, but you did. All right. The Jays may have just ended a lengthy pennant drought, but they've drawn the reigning champs in this series. The Dodgers are the first defending champs to return to the World Series, blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah. Largest gap between back-to-back championships in 4 major North American sports. We just talked about this, but it's 24 seasons in the MLB. 18 was the longest gap in the NBA. 18 was the longest gap in the NFL. And 17 is the longest gap in the NHL. Star power in this series. What's a marquee without its biggest stars? 2 of the biggest names in baseball are coming off LCS MVP performances, Shohei and Vlad Jr. Ohtani has the entire nation of Japan behind him, while Vlad has all of Canada and the DR on his side. Although I think Canada and DR are probably arguing a little bit about which team Vlad should play for in the WBC. It's going to be DR, but anyway. They've been the talk of the postseason up to this point, so it's only fitting that we get to this showdown. 2 of the best players, 2 of the biggest contracts, only one will prevail. Here were their stats as they won MVP in their respective series. Vlad hit 385, Shohei hit 357, Vlad scored 6 runs, Shohei scored 4. They both hit 3 homers. Shohei had 1 more RBI and a higher slugging, and then let's not forget he also got a win, throwing 6 scoreless, 2 hits, 10 Ks on the mound in the series clincher. Largest contracts in MLB history. Juan Soto, 15-year, $765. Shohei Ohtani is a 10-year 700. And then Vlad Jr. now is a 14-year 500. So two of the top three contracts in baseball in terms of overall value going head-to-head in this one. I was a little surprised at the Vlad contract. I know he's a great player, and he's worth the money now, certainly. But, yeah, first basemen don't usually get paid like this. You've seen how the market's gone for Pete Alonso. So they paid him, and I like it, but I was a little surprised by it at the same time. Hold on, we have more talks here about the Jays situation. Cheapest Jays ticket right now is like 1,300 USD. That's terrible, and I don't like that, but it just shows the demand right now. So it's really crazy. Ooh, and I didn't realize this. Skydome lost about 10,000 seats since the renovation. That kind of sucks because an extra 10,000 people in there would be juicy. Yankees air raid siren when they score too. Yeah, that's good. So a lot of teams have cool stuff that they do. I just was saying that Blue Jays one is pretty it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Shohei basically won the NLCS MVP on Game 4, removed Game 4 stats. It wasn't up to his level of performance. Yep, but he's the one player that can overcome it with that one game, right? I mean, he'd probably get, like, if there was a war for the playoffs, he'd have over a one WAR for a one-game performance. 6 shutty, 3 homers. Insane. I could see the disliking the Yankee strikeout song because it's annoying if you're an opposing fan. But I like any strikeout song. Now with the Rockies for a little while, we tried to do that Hunger Games song, that Hunger Games noise where it's like, I don't know, the one where they do the little like thing up. And it was cool for a little bit, but then they got rid of it. I don't know why. Do you think Vladdy is a Gold Glove at first base? I think he's pretty close. First base is a little tricky to win Gold Gloves. There's actually a lot of good first basemen out there, but yeah, Vlad's pretty solid over there. Helps that he was a former third baseman. Nothing worse than the Yankees 2-strike noise. Yankees do that. One thing I will say for the Yankees though, the Yankees 2 strikes with 2 outs sound where it goes that thing. But I just think it's cool that the fans will clap with 2 strikes in a game in May in the first inning. I think that's good. That's good stuff. Yeah, that's the song you guys are talking about. My bad. All right, Ohtani on the mound. We've seen Shohei do a lot of things, but one of the few things left to do on his list is pitch in a World Series. He's taking his two-way talents to the game's biggest stage. And who knows, if it goes 6 or 7, maybe we'll see him come out of the bullpen in some sort of breathtaking showdown way like we saw at the end of the WBC. Shohei Ohtani, historic performance in that final game. We've already gone over it. He threw 100 miles an hour in the first inning. He struck out 10. He hit 3 home runs. He hit a ball out of the stadium. So it was all on full display, the full peak of his powers. Putting the world in World Series. Not only are we getting the first World Series games outside of the U.S. in over 3 decades, we'll also have games played at Dodger Stadium, which will host baseball at the 2028 Summer Olympics, which is great. I love that. And all this comes just a few months before the very, very exciting 2026 WBC, which I can't freaking wait for. So this is great. This kind of sets us up for the WBC, but also let's stay where our feet are. This is going to be an outstanding World Series. Also, look at all the notable players on these teams born outside the U.S. From the DR, Seranthony Dominguez, Teoscar Hernandez, as well as Vlad. In Cuba, Yariel Rodriguez, Andy Pajes, I believe, is Cuban. Mexico, Kirk. Venezuela, Jimenez, Rojas, Eduardo Enriquez. Canada, technically Vlad, and obviously Freddie Freeman's parents because he plays for Team Canada. Puerto Rico, of course, Kike. South Korea, you got Haesung Kim. Tommy Edman also played for Korea WBC. And in Japan, of course, Ohtani, Yamamoto, and Sasaki. So this is a very, very, very juicy international crew of superstars in this game. All right, we got some more questions in the chat before we keep going. Random question. Do you think that if we transported Prime Greg Maddux today, he would still be dominant? Yes, absolutely. It'd be a little harder, probably because of the strike zone being a little different. But he was, yeah, he was Greg Maddux. He's one of the best pitchers ever, and that would still play. I think his command and his movement that never goes out of style. Although I'm sure some idiot would tell him that he needs more strikeouts. Some coach, you know. Let's see here. Ooh, ballet performance tickets secured. Good job, Brett. How come that didn't come up? Good job. Okay, do I think Ernie Clement's approach and swing his bat will still be hot against the Dodgers? I mean, you're going to find out quick with Ernie. That's the thing. He's swinging at the first pitch. Majority of the time, he's one of the most aggressive players in the league. He's got a good hit the ball where it's pitched approach, line drive approach. I love his approach versus this pitching staff. But if the Dodgers locate, they make him swing at their pitches, he might just have a lot of first pitch outs. So that's going to be the key is how they attack him. You know, he can only deal with what they give him, and we'll see what the Dodgers choose to give him. But I am excited for him for sure. Joel will come on at 11. We'll get his early thoughts before he heads to Toronto for media day. Just get his early thoughts, just a couple things. Okay, let's keep it going. Let's keep it going. Like father, like son, Vlad Jr. and Bo Bichette will try to do something their fathers never did, win a World Series. Vlad Sr. did a lot for Canada during his time with the Spos, but he could not bring a title to the Great Wide North, and he lost in his only trip to the Fall Classic in 2010 with the Rangers. Vlad Jr. has already said that he wants to win a ring so he can give it to his Hall of Fame father. That's sweet. Like father, like son, career comparison per 162 games. Well, Senior hit 318, Vlad Jr. 288. Senior averaged 100 runs, Vlad 95. Senior 34 home runs, Vlad 30. Senior 113, Junior 98. OPS, Senior's got the lead. He's got the lead in everything. And he was a better player. He was a more complete player. He played a really good right field, had a bazooka cannon for an arm, better contact hitter, even better power hitter to some extent. Now, I think this could change over time. I think there's more ceiling that we haven't realized yet for Junior, but Senior's a Hall of Famer. So as great as Junior has been, he's got a long road to go to still measure up to his old man, which is saying something because he's a lot richer than his old man. The game changed in that way. I mean, yeah, it's true. He's more patient, but that doesn't necessarily mean better. There's different styles. And Vlad Sr. is famous for being a bad ball hitter, but he was really good at it, right? So it'll be interesting to see. Okay. This is about Bo. This is a big talking point. Will Bo play? He had a strained PCL. That's no joke. I don't think he's going to play the field. So you're going to probably have to DH him, which would mean they would have to send Springer to a corner spot, which is going to take somebody else out of the lineup. So I'm not 100% sure Bo's going to start these games. This is one of the first things I'm going to ask Joel about today is what his feel is on the Bichette situation. Because obviously, you know, he's a great hitter, but he's also probably a little rusty to some extent, considering how little he's played since, what is it, September 6th? I mean, it's October 22nd, so you're looking at, 6 weeks since then? Has not played in about 6 weeks, so not great, but you never know. Freddie goes north of the border. Freddie Freeman's parents are both Canadian. He holds dual citizenship. While Freddie was born in Cali, his parents would bring him to Blue Jays and Maple Leafs games whenever they played in the LA area. Freeman has represented Team Canada in the WBC in both 17 and 23 to honor his late mother, who passed away from skin cancer when Freddie was just 10 years old. He's expected to suit up for Team Canada and WBC yet again. So his third time appearing for Canada. So it's interesting because Canadians love Freddie, but in this situation, he's the enemy. So you have a lot of that going on. There's actually a lot of good, interesting beefs between these fan bases. Obviously, you have the Drake and Kendrick Lamar thing. You know, you got this whole Don Mattingly thing. You know, Tay Oscar played for both teams. This Freddie situation, so there's some cool stuff. As mentioned earlier in this piece, this matchup features two of the highest paid players in the entire sport, Ohtani and Vlad Jr. As such, it's not terribly surprising their team payrolls both rank within the top 5. Yep, so you spend money, you win. It's not that complicated. I know the Mets didn't this year, but if you look at it, like, there's a lot of parity. Like, these teams play We've seen how a lot of teams are in the mix, but in terms of getting to the final moment, the World Series, it does seem to be pretty correlated with having at least the top 10 payroll. Dodgers are at number 1 at 313. Blue Jays are number 5 at 242. They both fit the bill. Return of Springer. Now, this is a whole nother storyline, too. Springer obviously was on the Astros, the cheating 2017 Astros who beat the Dodgers in Game 7. He won Series MVP, so he's hated in LA. So this is another wrinkle to it, too. Springer will not be welcomed warmly by Dodger fans. He went off for 5 homers, tying the record for a single World Series to win MVP honors in that year, but expect to hear a lot of boos. He had 379 that World Series. That was pretty damn good. Here's some more notes on Donnie baseball. Don Mattingly has been in the Major League since 1982, but this is his first trip to the World Series. So that's what we talked about, how many years. He did manage the Dodgers for 5 seasons, won 446 games, and then Dave Roberts was hired as his replacement. He's been there ever since, and he's been really good for them. This could be the last call. This could be the last chance at another ring for a pair of generational greats, Scherzer and Kershaw. Scherzer's 41. His deal's up after this year. He had a 5.19 in the regular season, but did pitch really well in Game 4 of the CS. Kershaw has already said he's done, so basically we're wondering if he's thrown his last pitch or not. I'm sure they'd love to get him in some capacity, especially in LA. Give him one last ovation. Maybe they're up a lot, down a lot in a game. They can get him in, but I don't see him coming in for too many matchups. I'm trying to think what the matchup Kershaw would be picked for in this series. Like, I guess it would be left on left, potentially. I don't know. That'd be interesting to see where he would match up, where they would sneak him in. Kershaw hasn't pitched since allowing 5 runs and 2 innings at the end of NLDS Game 3, and he was included on the NLCS roster, but they didn't need any help because they pretty much just had like 5 guys pitch, so they were good. This is what we talked about yesterday. History is not on the Dodgers side. The sweeping team that waits around has not had very much luck. We went over it. 2012 World Series, 2007 World Series, 2006 World Series, and 98 World Series. All those times the team had come off a sweep ended up losing. There's some stuff with the days off. But FanDuel has the Dodgers, led by the rotation of Blake Snell, Yamamoto, Glasnow, Ohtani, as minus 220 favorites to win the World Series. I'm not a gambling guy. I really don't care about it at all. I would never bet on any of this, but it is interesting that they're a pretty strong favorite. These gambling companies, these bookmakers, they're not usually throw a number like minus 220 up there for no reason. They're doing it to get a lot of action on both sides. So there's probably heavy public sentiment that this is going to be a Dodger win, but I think it's a little closer than that, and that should be interesting. All right, now when did these two teams play? They played in August, right? We said we were going to do a little bit of studying, so let's do a little bit of studying. Dodgers and Blue Jays. Yeah, here's the games. 8-8, 8-9, and 8-10 from LA. So Scherzer started this first game, it looks like, for Toronto. This was the Scherzer-Kershaw matchup. But I'm curious about some of these relievers. So Brandon Little is the first one. First, let's just look at it from this perspective. Blue Jays pitching to the Dodgers batters, and then we'll flip it around. I don't want to go look at the whole Snell start because I kind of want to look at that on Friday morning. But let's look at all the relievers we can. So Little faced Freeland. He's not on the roster. He also faces Shohei. This is a one-pitch at-bat here. Now, we've talked at length about Shohei's struggles with lefties with low arm slots in the postseason. He's done almost nothing against any lefty that's below 30 degrees. Brendan Little's a little low, but I think he's a little bit higher than you'd like to be. Anyway, he kind of gets the roll over here, so that's good contact for a pitcher to allow, but Shohei gets the infield hit. I do expect him to see some of Little and definitely a lot of Fluharty as we go. Let's see, Little versus Mookie here. This was an infield in situation. That's kind of weird. And then he walks Freddie on 4 pitches. So Little, not very effective in his 1 inning. 2 walks and a hit and then a fielder's choice or whatever. Varland, they used him versus Will Smith, Muncy, Teoscar, and Conforto, who I don't believe is going to play. So he did strike out Muncy, and I would expect the Blue Jays to continue to use Varland in this fireman best, part of the order type of role. So don't be surprised if he gets Muncy again. Ends up beating him with a high fastball. Let's watch this hold up back, because this is a bases loaded, no outs situation.
Infield stays in. Muncy comes up and
fastball, foul ball.
2 grand slams this year. Fouled off.
Knuckle curve. Knuckle curve again, so he slows him down a little bit.
Another 0-2, and he lays off.
Varland's got great stuff, but I get the feeling like he's not that hard to square up when you do make contact. He's given up some loud contact in these first few games. So take it for what it's worth. And then Teoscar hits a sac fly on a curve here. That's a risky pitch right there. He almost got clipped. And then Conforto doesn't matter. And here's Fluharty. So Fluharty is somebody to lock in on for sure, mainly versus Shohei. Let's watch all the pitches versus Shohei. This is going to be the guy that Schneider's going to fire in the game with a huge moment versus Ohtani. That's my guess. He punches him out both times in this series with an array of sweepers and a weird cutting fastball. So that's kind of the matchup I would look for and expect to see. Blue Jays and Dodgers in this spot would be Mason, Fluharty, and Shohei. Like, he gets him to chase a cutter in off, which tells me he's hunting a sweeper here, and then he's just surprised when it's a fastball. But this is a tough matchup for any lefty. I mean, Fluharty's over there on the first base side, creating a little bit of that angle, left to right angle on the way to the plate, kind of playing behind the batter. See this angle right here? It looks like he's going to throw this ball back here. So that's a tough angle for sure.
Looking and hunting for the ball inside. Then he's had
Sweeper down.
Fluharty's payoff.
So he's got him out front on the sweeper, definitely thinking about the sweeper, and a little bit confused when the cutter comes. So that tells me Shohei's not doing a good job of recognizing in this matchup between Fluharty and him the difference between his cutter and his sweeper. Something about that little bit of movement on the cutter is hiding a little bit of the sweeper spin, and when it's the sweeper, he doesn't notice it until later. So punches him there. That's a matchup to look out for. Let's go to the next one. Dodgers, Blue Jays, and I mentioned there was this other Fluharty at bat. I'm gonna skip forward to this last inning because he came up huge in this game. Pitched them to the victory here. Bases loaded. Tying run on third, winning run on second. Shohei and Mookie coming up. This was a major pressure cooker stitch. I actually think we looked at this on Baseball and Coffee when it happened. But again, it's the combination of this cutter and sweeper. This is the second time we've seen Shohei almost fire at a cutter in off the plate. And the reason why he does this is pretty obvious to me, is the sweeper needs to pop at him to be a strike. So the cutter, even though it also has to pop inside, if it pops all the way in and he reads sweeper, he's going to start to fire, and it's only going to end up about here, and it's going to scare the crap out of him. So if he's sitting on sweeper, you know it because he'll fire at a cutter in off the plate. So that's kind of how I know right now he's on sweeper again, and you saw it show up in that first at-bat. But the fact that he even tries to fire at this a little bit, and it's not even close, tells me he's looking for sweeper in this at-bat.
Here's the 1-1.
Yep, and he gets it and he chases it. This is the tough part about sitting on pitches sometimes. It's hard to stay disciplined. You're like, he's going to throw me the slider. He's going to throw me the slider. He's going to throw me the slider. There's the slider. I'm swinging. And then, dude, it's a freaking good pitch. So you get the pitch you're looking for, except it's not a hittable pitch. It's a perfect pitch down and away. Really nice there. He should stick with that if I was him. He does. This time he takes it. So now that he makes an easy take on this one, doesn't even really trigger. This is where if he had a sinker, this would be the moment. Throw a sinker back door, you're going to get the freeze all day long. But he doesn't really have a great sinker. He doesn't really use it to the glove side. So he's just going to continue going with this cutter sweeper kind of trade-off. Once again, he gets Shohei to fire at a cutter up in. I mean, these are weird pitches to swing at. Making Shohei very obviously aware of that breaking ball and where it needs to start. But the cutter's throwing him off a little bit.
Another 2-2.
That was a great pitch and a great take.
3 balls and 2
This is a tough pitch to lay off of on 2-2. Right above the zone. Did he almost go on this? No, but what a take. And we got to 3-2. So they were 1 strike away from tying this game up.
The payoff.
Sweeper foul ball.
Another payoff.
Sweeper fouled away. And then I think he's going to get him finally and get the sweeper to the right spot. Yeah, gets it below the zone. Looked like he took something off and got more depth on this one. Yeah, negative 3.6. So this ball had a little more drop to it. Shohei was kind of in swing mode in this situation and gets him the wave at this one. So great pitching, big balls pitching by Fluharty right there in that spot. And again, this is the matchup you're going to see. So Shohei is going to be thinking about this, I'm sure. And in a way, you'd rather have saved those for the World Series. You know, even though he's had the advantage on him the first 2 times, he got Shohei's attention a little bit. So Shohei's plan will probably be a little more dialed in the next time. I do want to see this pitch that everybody's saying this was a that he went around. Oh my God. My God, did he ever go around? The bat is like, this is the bat. That's ridiculous. So, all right, you were 100% right on that, Marcus, from pitch 2. But that was pretty fun to watch. Jays have home field advantage by 1 win, so Fluharty's performance there was huge. It did play out to be that way, I guess, in a situation where 1 game was the margin. That did seem to make a big difference. Very, very impressive by Mason. And, you know, he hasn't been trusted much. He was up a little bit in the NLCS, didn't pitch much, if he pitched at all. I believe he pitched a little bit, but he didn't get a lot of opportunities. I do think that changes a little bit with the matchups in this series. All right. Hoffman also pitched in this series, as did Little. Now, we watched Little before, and I'm really trying to key in on these lefties because they're going to need some – they are going to need some matchup situations at times, potentially for Shohei, Freddie, and Muncy.
When he's right, but when it's not right, it's really not right. We saw that on Friday. Both runners go, throw down.
So he was in the game during this caught stealing. Anyway, here's the at-bat versus Freddie.
Take the bat out of Freddie's hands last inning.
Starts him with the sinker. See, on paper, that left-on-left sinker to Shohei and to Freddie is not a bad pitch. If you watch what Christopher Sanchez did to the Dodgers, that would be a good blueprint for him. You know, that sinker in off the plate, kind of setting up that slider away. But Little's been so erratic, and I'm not sure how much he's going to be trusted in this game. But Little, look for Little and Fluharty for sure to get some opportunities, get some big outs in this series, because on paper at least, and I know that, you know, they're going over it in the meetings, all the projected matchup stuff, those guys are going to jump to the top of the list, and the guys that the analytics and the numbers say should be facing these guys left on left. Lauer, I don't feel like fits into this as well, because Lauer's a much more high slot, and I think Shohei is like 1-for-1 with a home run off him or something, and they might need him more for bulk, especially now that they might be using Bassett in shorter stints. So I would expect these 2 guys and Lauer be more of a long guy, I would say. Yeah, this is why I'm watching this, Mitch, because I think Little is kind of maybe a necessary evil a little bit to get through some of these tough lefties in big spots if the Blue Jays are going to wiggle through some mucky games, which is where they need the games to turn into a mucky game. So curveball, and here's that sinker in. This is what I was talking about. It's a really good equalizer, left on left. I love it to all 3 of these guys, Muncy, Shohei, and Freddie. So if Little can command his pitches, he might be a real factor in this one. He really might. All right, now Hoffman. Now, granted, he was going through it a little bit at this point. I mean, this was maybe his worst outing of the season. Walk, pop-up, walk, sack bunt, walk. So there's really nothing to look at here except he just wasn't himself. And also this guy Rodriguez is not being trusted as well either. He's been a little bit of a mess. So, yeah, hold on. I'm getting a text from Joel. He's going to be a little bit late. That's fine. So yeah, so those guys don't matter. Let's go look at the other pitchers that pitched in these 2 games. These 3 games. Dodgers and Jays. So in game 2, Bassett started. Rodriguez, Dominguez, Fisher, and Nance. Okay. Bassett did start. It did not go well, but he's going to be mostly in a relief role. I am going to watch him in a second. But again, Rodriguez is not being trusted. He's not in the trust tree. Dominguez is in short stints. So he intentionally walks Shohei. He's going to be probably a big matchup. If Mookie is the guy when he enters the game, I could see that. Because then you're going to probably get a couple righties if you run into Will Smith or Teoscar, depending on how the lineup is made. Also, he could be bottom of the order. Kike Pages, that could be his run as well. So let's see Sir Anthony in this game, which they kind of got beat up on, but versus Mookie. Mookie ready for that fastball in and hits it in off the plate down the line. So you know Mookie's on the fastball. He ends up striking Freddie out here.
Freeman, who's got a hit and a walk already.
It's a little confusing to me, Sir Anthony's pitching style. He doesn't, for me, he doesn't throw enough off speed. He's got great fastball, but to me, he lives and dies with it a bit too much when he has to throw strikes. So it's just a little more predictable in strike counts. And sometimes when he looks good, it's relatively quick innings. I think he had a 7-pitch inning in Game 7 the other night. Just some quick contact. You don't really notice much about it. But I feel like as the at-bats go longer with him, you know, at a certain point, his inability to locate his off-speed pitch starts to show up. So we'll see. He does punch him out with a sinker in this at-bat. And it's a ball, so not even a strike gets the call there. I don't think he had any answers for Freddie there. He ends up walking Muncy. He does strike out Teoscar. This is going to be a matchup we'll see. So probably sinker in, sweeper away, I would guess, for the most part. There's a sweeper strike. Sweeper up. Yep, there's that sinker in. And then another sweeper. So that makes sense. Sinker in, sweeper away. That's kind of the approach versus Teoscar. That's the matchup that you will likely see when the 2 Dominicans go at it in this World Series. Dominguez and Teoscar. A lot of sinker slider. Same thing with Pages. So this is definitely the lane that they'd like to get him in. They'd love to see him face a Will Smith, a Teoscar, a Pages, even a Mookie to some extent. That's probably where you'll see Teoscar get in there. Yeah, and the splitter can be effective. I agree with this Mitch, but he's just not consistent with his command. And so he doesn't get himself in a great spot to execute that split below the zone often. Pages got him for a double on a backup sweeper. All right, so Pages is so dead pull that we'll keep in mind this double a little bit and the location. So if Dominguez is facing Pages, the only pitches inside he's going to want to throw are sinkers. When he's throwing an off-speed pitch, he's got to get them away and get him into reach mode. What he does here is he backs up that slider middle in, and that's the pitch that Pages with his very pull-oriented scoopy swing can handle. So it's going to be interesting to note, and as Marcus points out, Sir Anthony does have elite playoff numbers. So, I mean, look, he's in the trust tree. He's going to be trusted, but I do think it's about matchups. At the end of the day, he's going to probably get some of those right-on-right matchups in those lanes that they want. Here's another guy right here, Fisher. Now, Fisher is actually a little better versus lefties, and he's got big strikeout numbers. Didn't pitch a ton in the last series, but he's a little bit of an X factor to face some of the lefties too if they're out of him. Like if they don't have Little anymore, Fluharty, or those guys scuffle, you could see Fisher maybe getting some chances versus lefties. Now in this game, he faces a bunch of guys that aren't really going to get at bats. Call might get a few. Likely not against him. Gets him out on a curveball. Almost gets clipped. He's not as effective versus righties. And then he faces Shohei. So let's watch this at bat versus Shohei, because this is another potential matchup if you're not going to go left on left. And why do I say that? Because of pitches like that. It's got a natural cut on his heater. That is going to play really well versus lefties. As you can see, Shohei goes and swings at this first pitch in and comes up empty here. Versus Fish.
for something straight.
Curveball off of that. I mean, this arsenal's built to get out opposite-handed hitters. Balls cutting in on their hands, breaking balls below the zone. So, cutter, curveball, curveball. Here's the slider. This is also a very downward breaking slider. His slider and his curveball and his cutter are all kind of similar, just to different degrees. They all go left a little bit and down a little bit. You know, the cutter the least, the slider the next, and then the curveball the most. So slider back to the curveball. That's a ball down, and then back to the slider. So if he faces Shohei, let's expect a lot of breaking balls, trying to use his north-south game, and when he throws that cutter, expect it to the inner rail or the top rail versus Shohei. When he goes to this pitch, this cutter pitch, which is 94.5, 11 inches of vert, and about 1 inch horizontal. When he only throws this pitch, only expect it on this, hold on. It's only going to be on this inner rail or on the top rail. Anything else, like if he misses with this cutter, like in here, kaboom, kaboom time. And then for other than that, he's trying to throw breaking balls, you know, below the zone for Shohei. So we'll keep an eye because I think he's an alternate option potentially in this matchup as we keep going. So that was Fisher. Nance had a great year for the Jays, but I haven't seen him appear at all, telling me they don't really trust him. So I'm not going to even study him. Oh, but there is Bassett. So Bassett will not start a game in this series. However, I think Schneider is not going to be afraid to use him in big leverage spots. He's another guy that you can fire in there versus that righty run. Pretty much, I would say, after Freddie in the lineup, maybe after Muncy in the lineup, Bassett is perfect. Teoscar, he matches up well. Pajes, Kike, even Edman, I feel like he matches up well. So let's watch this at bat where he does strike Shohei out. I don't think he'll draw Shohei, but in case he does, let's see how we try to go about it. He went 4-seam, first pitch, middle. Shohei tried to ambush. Wow, surprised he doubles up here. I know it's the first inning, but it's all about location. Seabass, when he's facing lefties, especially with the 4-seam and the cutter, he's trying to get to that up in location consistently. He does here, gets the foul ball, setting himself up for a chance. He's going to go cutter off that. Oh, they're going to go backdoor on the cutter, and that worked really well. So kind of went from, he went hittable, little less hittable to completely unhittable in this location. This is a great sequence. Good reading of the at-bat by Seabass. But getting ahead in the count is imperative for him versus Shohei. He's going to have to nibble if he's behind in the count. So it's really all about that strike one. He faced him a second time. He's going to try that cutter again. Let's see the location.
Dodgers looking for their first hit still.
Yeah, what did I tell you? That's not the spot. Medium speed in the middle of the plate, not the spot at all. Not the spot in any way, shape, or form.
Dodgers looking for their first hit still. Shohei will give it to him with a bullet into right center field.
So, again, they're going to try to shoot up in. That's going to be the righty plan, especially if a guy like Bass is in there. You know, expect the same from Bieber. Try to get up and in with him, and then, you know, get him to chase below the zone later. But, you know, speed him up to then slow him down. But it's just so much easier said than done. And then he clips him for a home run in the third at-bat. So let's watch this at-bat and see what he does here. This time he tries away. He's been pitching him in. So it makes sense that he would try to go away here and steal a first pitch strike. Only problem is the sinker's almost too good and it runs off the plate. Ball one. This is a changeup. I don't care about what it says here. 86 is a changeup. So Shohei spits on both pitches. And he's obviously aware of the ball in here. If he's spitting on these pitches so easily that start on the outer third. Another sinker. Yep. He gets him to fire because this ball pops on the inner third, pops inside. So that's what Shohei's looking for. Luckily for Bass, this pitch had good drop to it. Only 1.8 inches of vertical. And so it kind of dips under the barrel here. Gets a strike. And then 4-seam fastball coming. Again, trying to get to that up-in spot. Doesn't quite get it. But this is what I was talking about. When he's behind in the count to a big-time lefty, there's a lot of nibbling and trying to make perfect pitches that goes on. And that's why it's all about getting ahead in the count in these situations. This is the same pitch he ultimately strikes him out with earlier. I know it was a cutter, fastball, same thing in this situation. But it doesn't matter. Shohei doesn't have to swing at it when he's not behind in the count. So it gets him to this 3-1. This is a changeup. And this is where he finally gets him. Again, cannot be behind the count in this type of matchup. Takes him out to dead center. Rides out a changeup. 108 to center at 27. So again, I don't think you'll see this matchup, but this gave me a little bit of a hint of how they'd like to pitch him right on left. They'd like to stand him up. They'd like to speed him up with fastballs and cutters at the top of the zone before trying to wipe him out below. But overall, they're going to try to, you know, pick their spots with the right matchups beyond the starters. Because the starters that Shohei's going to see in the series are all fastball split guys for the most part. Bieber's more of a command guy. So that what we just watched applies a little bit more for Bieber, I would say. All right, let's watch Bassett versus some guys he might actually face. Let's watch him versus the righties, I would say, and then the bottom of the order. So first, let's watch his at-bats versus Mookie. Sinker ball.
I'm not going to get what I normally get. I'm just going to concentrate on helping.
Sinker ball. So that's the book on Mookie is you pitch him away, away, away.
2-0. Top of the zone, strike one. On this 2-1 from Bassett, he waits on a breaker and pops it into foul ground. That'll reach the seats in 2.
What was this pitch? I missed it. I was looking at it sext. Sorry, guys.
On this 2-1 from Bassett,
yeah, Mookie wants to get out front and hook everything. So I like Bassett in his matchup against him, actually. He's going to pitch him away, away, away. He's going to change speeds and go super slow. That slow curveball is a good pitch to Mookie. I don't love this pitch call at all. You cannot go in my opinion, with your stuff. But this pitch is below the zone. It's crazy that he's able to scoop this pitch and almost drive it. Gets it a touch off the edge, but you can see below the zone off the end. All right, second at bat versus Mookie. Gonna get him to fly out. Let's see if he stays away, away, away. Sinker up in, accident. Probably something away off that. Yep, sweeper, 2 speeds down. This is the type of pitch I like. If you can get Mookie to plant that front foot early and he can't wait back, then he gets in a little bit of trouble. That's what happens here. You can kind of see it from the side. Like there's the moment here where he lands and he wants to swing, but then he has to kind of wait for the ball to get there. You see there's a little half beat here. And he pops it up. So I love using speed differential versus Mookie, but you also just have to live away. So if Bassett faces him, I think we'll see that. Here's a third at bat. Let's see how he goes about it this time. First pitch slider way away. Now he's going to go to the sinker. Probably go away with it. Yep. It's a good choice. Typically, Bassett likes to go sinker into righties. Like typically he wants to pitch right in here. This pitch, he's targeted away. He ends up missing middle, but it's better than it being in my opinion, where he wants to pull everything. You know, that's Mookie's pop. That's his game, his pull side. So expect to see Bassett versus Mookie potentially. He'll throw a lot away, away, away. All right, what else did he face in this game? Guys that he will see. Let's look at him versus Muncy now. First pitch sinker. This is on paper, in my opinion, a bad matchup for Bassett. Muncy feasts on guys that nibble. I should know. I used to nibble against him quite a bit because he won't chase. And if you don't have any type of velocity to really beat him with, you can't speed him up. He can kind of wait and hammer mistakes. So, yep, it makes sense. Here's a home run off Bassett. So let's see how he gives up the home run here. I mentioned the nibbling and making you come to him. Four-seam fastball, pretty good pitch to hit. Pops it up foul. What's he going to go to off of that? Wow, sinker. And just takes it the other way. Man, right down the line, sneaks it out for a homer. It's a good swing. He controls the zone well. Didn't get off balance. I give more credit to Muncy than necessarily a bad pitch by Bass. I don't mind switching from four-seam to sinker here and trying to make a pitch. But great swing by Muncy, though. How hard he hit that? 96.8, that's a weak home run, but great job going the other way down the line. Do they face each other a third time? Yep. And Muncy gets some. Muncy should have been 3 for 3 this game. So again, I think even though Chris matches up really well with Mookie Betts, I don't think you'll see that just because he's surrounded by danger. I think you'll see Bassett get a run anywhere beyond Muncy in the lineup. I don't think they're worried about him versus the bottom of the order lefties. It's more just the big 3 lefties of Shohei, Freddie, and Muncy that I think they need to watch out for. Yep, there's that changeup that's registering as a sinker. Max is all over that. And it's funny because like for a really long time in my career, I would throw pitches like this, sinkers or changeups, dotted down and away to lefties, and I'd give up hits, and I would go back and I'd say, but that was a perfect pitch. That was a good pitch. Until I realized that the swings were all starting to get built to crush that pitch. So I had to start switching it up. This is way back in 2014, maybe 2013. So it's been going on a long time, but Muncie's one of the better guys at scooping pitches like that out of the ground. Okay, so those are the matchups versus Muncie. Don't love those. Let's watch him versus Teoscar.
Few weeks, OPS above 900.
Sinker away. So this is more his speed. He can change speeds. Teoscar is vulnerable to that sinker in quite often. It's funny how this shows up because this is the same thing that he just did to Eugenio Suarez, right? Sinker at the bottom of the zone away. Ridiculous backup curveball up and in, but it clips the zone. Every hitter's going to hate this. Teoscar hates it. But it is a strike. 0-2 count. Sweeper again. This time he overcooks it a lot, trying to make sure he gets it there. Now curveball off that, which is another variation. Bassett will literally go to any pitch, any time, based on feel. He's a total feel, old school pitcher with outstanding feel. But it's fascinating to watch him work. You know, sweeper to curveball to backdoor sinker attempt. But you see how he operates when he's heading the count. A lot of nibbling, a lot of trying to make perfect pitches before ultimately he'll trust the sinker late in the count. And he does get the rollover. And I do like this matchup with Teoscar a little bit on paper. Teoscar is a little vulnerable to that sinker. That's Bassett's get out of jail free card. That's his main pitch. He has obviously a million pitches, but when in trouble, he will go to the sinker. All right, second at bat between these guys. Just waiting for Joel to come on, and we'll talk a little bit to him and see what his initial reads are.
Tasker Hernandez.
Away, away. Ooh, four seam.
It's against every pitch type.
Trying to go up with it.
Remember that 21 season.
Takes it off the corner. Good take.
Swinging it like that again. 2-2.
Overcooks that. Just staying away, away, away. This time they go for the high cutter up and in. This was a great pitch. So it's tough. He leads you into believing that everything's going to be away. Even me, I'm like, he's just going to pitch him away. It's going to be a combination of fast stuff and slow stuff all over here. And instead, he goes to this cutter, a front door cutter, that's going to start a little bit in and then end up in an impossible spot to hit. This is a great pitch. After you've been leading away, 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 throw something in. Hitters can't cover it. So he punches Teoscar right here. And then I think he gets him one more time. No, he doesn't. Okay, so that's it for watching him versus Teoscar. Let's watch him versus Pages. This is another good matchup. Another guy very vulnerable to sinker in, breaking ball away approach with his bat path. So I do think you'll see Bassett in a big spot versus this type of run. Everybody beyond Muncie. We'll see how the Dodgers make the lineup. But we'll see. This type of mix will work really well. Oh, we have a quick question on front door versus back door. Yeah, sure. Front door always refers to a pitch that starts like where the hitter's standing and breaks into the zone, whereas back door is over here breaking into the zone. It'd be the opposite if it was a lefty. So back door, this is the back door coming from off the plate away to in, and the front door is from inside to onto the plate. So front door, back door, front door, back door. All right. Just wanted to make sure you guys knew that. That was Pages, and Pages now again, Davis Schneider. Slider dotted away. Sinker away off that. Really good pitch there. Really good catch by Kirk. Pretty good, but does get the call. Nice pitch by Bass. He's ahead 0-2. So now he'll try to play that cutter off the corner away. Ball. And then cutter to sweeper is a pretty often used sequence. So you see it again here. Gets him out front. Again, Pages pull, pull, pull. Him and Mookie are actually quite similar in a lot of ways. Teoscar will go the other way, but Pages and Mookie really want to pull. Really want to pull, and that's where that slow breaking ball works. All right, so that was it for Pages. Is there anybody else here that he might see? No. I do think they'll let him face Kike. They'll let him face Edman. Even Will Smith is another one. I think he was hurt at the time of this, so he didn't play in this game. But that makes a little sense to me. On the flip side of things, who pitched in this game for the Dodgers? Wow. Alexis Diaz pitched in this game for the Dodgers. Holy cow. Dreyer, Stewart, and then Snell, which we're going to watch all of this on Friday. All right, guys, I need to take a quick break, and when I come back, we'll probably be back with Joel Sherman. So I'm going to take about a 2 or 3 minute break. I'm going to put on the loading screen again in the music, and then I'll pop back in, all right? So I'll see you guys in a sec. Hey guys, just waiting on Joel here, and we'll do a little more talking. I have another coffee getting fired up in the maker here in a minute. This is we tried. We reached out to Miles's people. Oh, Joel's about to jump on. We reached out to Miles's people, and basically we were like, we're willing to pay and all that, and didn't really hear back. So we're still working on that. Maybe we can fix that in a moment. But you can't do it on your own; it'd be copyright. So can't do that. All right, stay tuned. I'm gonna bring Joel in here in a sec. Joel. One sec. Probably. Yeah. Hold on. Let me just paste you in here. We got very rudimentary software stitch. All right. Hey, Joel. Thanks for joining us this morning. We've been going over. Oh, you can't hear me? Can you hear me now? I just heard you a second ago. I was just talking to you. That's so weird. Oh, can you hear me now?
Yep.
There we go.
I
All right.
can.
All right, good. You can see me. All right.
Okay,
Well,
I didn't realize the phone. I looked at something on the phone and I disconnected you that way.
all good. No
Didn't
worries.
mean to do that.
No worries. Thanks for joining me.
And I'm sorry I'm a little late. I'm working on like a little series about the main free agent guys on the Yankees and Mets. Like I'm gonna do a the case for Pete Alonso, the case against Pete Alonso, and how would I advise David Stearns, the case for Bellinger, the case against, and how would I advise Cashman, and an executive who's tough to get called me back at 10:45, and I was like, oh, so I'm sorry that I'm.
Oh, it's
15
good.
minutes late.
We're rolling anyway.
Yeah,
It's all good.
Yes. So.
All right. Well, I've already introduced you. Everybody knows, big time baseball writer for New York Post, many many years. Somebody that I've been reading. A friend of mine introduced me last year at the banquet when I won the Good Guy Award. So very thankful for that.
Yeah.
So we've been going over this series. You know, obviously the main storyline everybody seems to be talking about is the Dodgers pitching versus the Blue Jays style offense, the contact style offense. How do you feel like the Blue Jays style offense matches up with maybe the way Milwaukee was looking headed into that series? And do we think that there's a contrast that maybe the Blue Jays can match up a little better here?
Yeah, you know, Adam, first of all, thank you for the introduction and thank you for having me on your show. You know, a lot of disgruntled Yankee fans left the Blue Jays series saying, hey, why don't the Yankees have contact hitters like the Blue Jays? And I would point out, well, the Brewers have contact hitters like the Blue Jays. When you face a certain kind of pitching in 2025 generally wins. The ball has never been thrown harder with this consistency, with this movement, with this knowledge of what is the weak spots of the hitters and the ways to attack them over and over again. Like pitching is ahead of hitting. Having said that, I've watched a lot of these postseason games. And the one thing is, like, the Blue Jays go into this series with Vladimir Guerrero at the top of his craft, and it feels like he'll be able to hit. It's these secondary guys who killed both the Yankees and the Mariners. The bottom of the lineup, I think it was 5 through 9 against the Mariners, hit over 300.
Yeah.
And all these supplementary guys played to their highest level. I feel like I haven't seen Ernie Clement make an out in October. Barger has had big hits. You know, Alejandro Kirk. You know, all these Nathan Lucas. Are these supplementary guys going to play to that level in the World Series against this Dodger pitching? It's a bit of a hard sell for me, Adam, but I've certainly covered World Series where I thought one team was an overwhelming favorite. The one that comes to mind instantly is Reds and A's in 1990. The A's are the defending champions. The Reds feel like they're there by luck. We didn't understand the value of having a bullpen like the Nasty Boys bullpen yet.
Yep.
And the Reds actually swept the A's. So I guess anything is possible. But the question I would ask is, aside from Guerrero, like if you even take out the 3 Hall of Famers at the top of the lineup for the Dodgers, like, is like everyone else around Guerrero going to be like Teoscar Hernandez, Will Smith, and Tommy Edman? Or, you know what I mean? It just feels like they have so many answers. And at this time of year, Kiki Hernandez is essentially Babe Ruth. So it's overwhelming advantages. for the
Yeah,
Dodgers in a lot of areas, including that starting pitching to the contact hitting. And I am fascinated if the contact hitting will hold up.
yeah. Milwaukee tried with both Snell and Yamamoto to be extra aggressive, knowing that these guys like to throw strikes. Their best opportunity is usually early in the count versus these guys. And to the Dodger credit, they adjusted right away. Yamamoto started pitching backwards, really from like the third batter on the rest of the way, and was able to get a lot of quick outs. Snell went to that changeup over and over and over again. So this isn't a strategy that they haven't seen before. I do think the Blue Jays have a little better chance given that bottom of the order production and the way that they generally hit the ball where it's pitched. I think if you try to get pull happy with a guy like Snell and you're a right-handed hitter, you're not going to do much. But I love a guy like Clement, to your point, can kind of shoot the other way. And in a lot of ways, the bottom of the order does have to do a lot of big time work to set the table for the top of the order on both sides. So in a way, even though these teams are very top heavy with superstar players at the top, the big three for the Dodgers, obviously Teoscar and George Springer, the way he's playing for the Jays, it's really the bottom of the order that can kind of set the table and put people into a bind a little bit, in a way, in my mind.
I wonder, do you think at all there's a Bo Bichette wild card here?
Yes, that was going to be my next question. Yes.
In that, but the Bo Bichette wild card has tentacles. And to me, the tentacles are this. Can George Springer play the outfield?
Yeah.
I'm not sure that kind of after taking 96 from Brian Wu off his right knee and his age and seeing how he was running, especially in game 6, maybe a couple of days off, some adrenaline, he could get out there and play. Because I assume Bichette can't go to short, nor might they want him to go to short. He's not a very good defensive player, and they just assume whatever offensive problems they have with Jimenez to go ahead and just use Jimenez there because the defense is so good. But especially against Snell, if I'm able to have both Springer and Bichette, and again, who's Bichette? He hasn't played since early September. But if he's the Bo Bichette, who hits 300, could hit good pitching, could hit in big spots, it does give length to that lineup, especially right-handed, to deal with it. And or even if you don't start him, it gives you a pinch hit option for someone like Jimenez late in the game that might be valuable. So I am curious about the Bo Bichette of it all, Adam.
I am too. And we've been talking about it a little bit in the chat the last few days, in my chat here. Would they be better off using him as like a perfectly timed pinch hitting option? He's got good bat to ball skills. So even though he hasn't played in about 6 weeks, maybe that part of the game for him, kind of rusts a little slower than other players. But I definitely don't think they can play him on defense.
Yeah, I'm with you. Because even on his best day on defense, he's not a good defender. So if he's compromised at all, I think one of the areas the Blue Jays will feel good about themselves is if the ball is in play with the Dodgers, that they'll handle it well, that they're a good defensive team. And I wouldn't want to give that away to Los Angeles in this series. The question is the bat to a place where he could DH? Is Springer's knee to a place where he can play right field? And or is the bat to a place where at least he can have one targeted at bat a game against the Snell or Tanner Scott if he's coming out of the bullpen or somebody along those lines?
So I guess the follow-up to this is who, if they do go with this alignment and they play Bo at DH and they play Springer and say out in the outfield, who's out of the lineup? Who loses out for the Jays? Is that a Lucas type or a Barger type? I guess probably Lucas, right? That'd probably be the guy.
Yeah, and I think it's an easier game 1 decision against the lefty,
right?
Because you'd rather have Bichette, I'm assuming, than Lucas in the lineup right now. Once you get to the righty portion of this, I think I'd still rather Bo Bichette, who I think could hit anybody if he's Bo Bichette, playing than one of the supplementary guys. And then again, one of the supplementary guys becomes a pinch hit option against, you're bringing Emmett Sheehan into a game late or something along those lines. Somebody. I just think Bichette gives them more weaponry to choose from. And is it important? But what version of Bo Bichette? We're just talking about how hard it is to hit, and he hasn't hit major league pitching in over a month in an actual game. So are we throwing him in the deep water, or to your point, maybe there's some guys who could roll out of bed and he's them who can just hit a baseball?
Yeah, I think a couple things on this that are interesting as well. I was thinking a lot about Bo Bichette during that last series. I mean, he's been along the ride with Vladdy since they were kids. They came through it together. They've been working toward this moment for a long time. I felt the pain. I felt the sorrow probably in his soul, as well as Barrios too, a little bit, in that they get to this moment and he can't participate. I'm wondering how he's really feeling. I watched him jog on the field 4 or 5 days ago on the TV, and it didn't look very comfortable. And
I was there. I was there, Adam. It didn't look great.
I just know,
Yeah.
having been in this spot, you're so desperate to contribute. Of course, you're going to say you're available. So this is like where the truth really has to come out. The training staff needs to really know what the situation is. Schneider needs to really know. And if I were managing it, I would probably relegate him to pinch hit duties early in this series, no matter what, and just kind of see how it plays out, because it's not broken. Why fix it right now? That'll be my theory on it, I think.
Yeah, I'm trying and I don't remember well. And I think the rules were different in 16 when the Cubs won and Schwarber came back for the World Series. I think in the NL cities he was just a pinch hitter,
Yes.
right? For those, and then like worked his way to DH, and he hadn't played since I think the first week of the season that year. I think he tore up his knee the first week, and he made it all the way back. So, and I think that the alternative, the extra thing there, if you believe in such things, and I'd like to believe in them because they're at least romantic, Adam, is there an emotional thing that helps the Blue Jays if this player could come back in the way Schwarber clearly helped the Cubs, both as a player and as an inspiration, that he came all the way back in 16 to play. To your point, when Bichette and Guerrero came up together, was that in 19, the
Mm-hmm.
Blue Jays were imagining them as the cornerstones of championships, plural.
Yep.
And this is going to be the only sure one they have a shot to get together because Bichette's a free agent at the end of the season.
Yeah.
And so uh, just the romance of it, I'd like to see him kind of get out there and try and do it. And I wonder if it is inspiring for his club, if he can get out there in some form and especially hit, even to your point, if it's one targeted at bat for 4 to 7 games, uh, he is a terrific hitter and he can hit good pitching.
I think there's something to that for sure. The emotional aspect of it. He's one of your leaders, one of your best players. The boys will be happy to see him out there in any capacity, chipping in. But yeah, you gotta get a better read on this if you're the decision makers before you make any commitment. Okay, so one last thing for you before I let you go. Although the chat is saying that the way that he would get in the lineup versus a righty, Barger would play third, Clement would play second, and Springer can go play right field, and then they could get him in there. I don't know.
Right, but that goes back to the beginning of our conversation. Is Springer compromised? Where
Right.
if you put him in right field, you're taking away as much from the overall offensive fabric by what you're doing on defense
Yeah.
there. Like you have to know that Springer is as close to a full player as possible, because you can't lose George Springer by having this injury further. Like his presence as the leadoff hitter and the leader of the team in a lot of ways is, to me, more valuable than even Bichette coming back. I would rather just have Bichette as a pinch hitter if I'm
Yeah.
compromising my defense or Springer's ability to stay healthy for the next 10 days.
I'm wondering if this is similar to this. We have a quote, a comment in the chat about this is like Freddie Freeman's situation from last year. So it's almost though you have to make two moves with Bo. Like if he gets on, you're going to have to immediately pinch run for him, perhaps. So there's a lot of factors roster wise of how you're going to kind of squeeze him in there. But that's a great storyline for the series. I'm curious how it plays out.
And I do wonder, Adam, you have this kind of management analytical mind. I know from talking is Bichette a good enough offensive weapon that you would drop to 12 pitchers for 7 games, to have that available, somebody who could run as like that's got to be part of this also, which is like how much, like if every Bichette move is 2 moves or 3 moves, is he worthwhile to have if you're going to carry 13 pitchers? And I think they have to carry 13 pitchers because their starters are not sure even get 5 inning starters at this point. Like
Yeah.
what are you getting from Scherzer? What are you getting from Bieber? I mean, I think you could probably feel good about Gosman getting you 5, but against the Dodger lineup, I don't know. Like I think you have to. I would think you more likely to, if you were allowed, carry 14 than 12.
Yeah.
So I think they're going to carry 13, and then the question becomes, like, do you tell Bichette to do Giancarlo Stanton and just do controlled running while he's on the bases, or do you have to say, now if he's on the bases, we got to, because especially if you DH him, what if he singles in the first inning?
Yeah.
Like you can't run for him, right?
No, I mean, not in the first inning. I mean, Schneider made it clear, I guess, that if he can't run the bases, he won't play. I mean, but I still think there's a scenario where they need a fast runner out there. He pinch hits, he finds his way on. They have to make a double move. But this kind of leads me to my ultimate question. You mentioned the pitching staff. Last year with the Mets when we played the Dodgers, we decided to take me off the roster, headed into the CS. We downgraded one pitcher, added another hitter to the lineup. I believe it was McNeil. And as that series progressed, the roadmap for the Blue Jays beating the Dodgers is to muck this series up, get it to 6-7 games, get a lot of relievers involved. I personally think in that type of series, you can never have enough pitching options because systematically the Dodgers lineup will break your relievers one by one as the series go and they get overexposed and you're going to need more guys. So if I'm managing, there's no way I can go for less pitchers. Like you're going to have to kind of fit a round peg in a square hole here, or if that's the opposite, I don't know. But that's what you got to do in my mind here. Yeah.
Adam, I'm with you. I think the pathway to a Blue Jays getting 4 wins before 4 losses is wild card. Like the Hoffman we saw in the last 2 games of the ALCS is, if you have that guy, well, now you're trying to get 24 outs, right? Like you feel, or maybe even 21 outs if that's the guy. That guy was dominant those last 2 nights. Now, again, against Seattle's lineup, which is more low batting average, more swing and miss than you're probably going to get out of the Dodgers. But that was pretty impressive what he did there. Is, to me, Yasavage is a wild card. Is everyone who sees him for the first time
Struggles.
says it's different?
Yeah.
So do you get him? Do you save him for Game 3, Shadows, Dodger Stadium, 5:00 start, and say, hey guys, good luck? Or do you do the thing like with the Yankee series? Do you put him in Game 2? You don't have your trajects machine to even pretend that you're seeing this for the first time in the postseason. So I think that those 2 guys, like if Yasevich is a guy for 2 games in this series and Hoffman is a guy at the end, we've started to whittle off the 36 to 63 innings they need in the series, right?
Yeah.
Like to our point, we probably don't want to insult anybody, but there feels like some pitchers on the Blue Jays who, even with, say, historic ability, I don't know how they match up against this Dodger lineup, and that you could use them and expect them to get around and around a few times.
Yeah.
So the more you could start to imagine what the 63 innings would look like if this went 7, or the 36 if it goes 4, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, I feel good about Hoffman at the end. I feel good about Yasevich and Gosman at the beginning. Who can we, to your point, muck it up with, okay, Fluharty here for Freeman and Brendan Little here for Ohtani and that kind of stuff.
We just watched some of the matchups from earlier in the season. These teams played in August, and Little, as much as he's out of the trust tree, they're going to have to trust him a little bit in these Ohtani and Freeman matchups. He's the right matchup. He's got the lower arm slot, the sinker, left on left. Those are the matchups that these guys have struggled with. So that's kind of what they need. They're going to need a full team effort. Oddly, I'm the most confident about Yasavage simply because nobody seems to see the ball well off him that first time. I would hedge and play him in Game 2 in Toronto where he's comfortable, and I wouldn't necessarily worry about the shadow part of it. Those games might be low scoring anyway. But that's what I would do. But oddly, that's the guy I'm the most confident in. Some of the more veteran guys, at least the Dodgers have seen those guys. They've seen Gosman, they've seen Bieber, they've obviously seen a lot of Max. So yeah, I agree. I mean, for me, the path is how are the Blue Jays going to find a way to get into the Dodger bullpen a little early in this series? Like, how do they get Snell and Yamamoto out of the ball game and get to the underbelly of the Dodger bullpen? Because in my count, the only Dodger relievers I can think of that are probably in the trust tree right now for Dave are Sasaki, Vesia, Trinan, and maybe Sheehan. Other than that, there's 4 guys they don't want to pitch right now.
Right. And those 4 guys, where do the Blue Jays sign up for seeing a lot of even those 4 guys over
Oh, yeah.
Yamamoto, Snell, Glasnow, and Ohtani? Right. Like, so
They
they
take all
want to
4 of
even
them.
get to, right. Like they would love to even get into that 4-man group as much as possible. I almost throw this back to you, Adam, after watching this last series. With as great as the complimentary guys were for Toronto, and they were really good. Again, the bottom of the lineup was decisive, especially compared to how little Seattle got out of its Canzone, Robles group at the bottom of their lineup. But the Dodgers, you're always picking poison, right? Ohtani, Betts, Freeman. To me, there's one clear poison on Toronto, especially the way Vlad Jr. is hitting right now. I just cannot let him swing the bat in a big spot.
No.
If I could sleep at night if Alejandro Kirk or Dalton Varsho beat me, like I'll take my shot. But like I keep seeing people pitch to Vlad, and I'm like, hey, it ain't June 7th anymore.
Yep.
Whatever scouting report you had on him, whatever big picture you had, you got to get out of the big picture to me. And as great as the Dodgers starting pitchers are, if Vlad is in a game-winning situation, I think you got to let these other guys, like, yes, like he's Judge now. He's Ohtani. At this moment, that's who he is. Like,
Yeah.
don't get macho. Try to win.
I could see early in the series them going right at him because they have the guys that are going to want to go right at him early. But if there's any chance for him to turn the tide of a game, they should be smart, even from game 1. I'd much rather get beat by the guys behind him than Vlad, the way he's swinging it. So impressive this past series. But anyway, thanks, Joel. I guess that's it for today. I really appreciate you coming on. This is great to have you. Get your thoughts. Good luck going up there to Toronto and talking to these guys.
Yeah. Tomorrow morning, I'm up on a flight and lots of writing, lots of MLB Network for the next 7 to 10 days.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it.
Adam, it's a pleasure. Great being with you.
All right, thanks. See you.
Bye-bye.
All right, that was Joel. We just got him for about, I don't know, what was that, 20, 25 minutes. He's great. He knows ball. He brought up some good points there. Obviously, it seems like he's picking the Dodgers. But at the same time, I think he's got a little more confidence, as do I, in the ability to potentially muck this series up a little bit, which is what they're going to have to do if they want to come back. So big thanks to Joel for popping on. We'll do that again at some point in the future. But that was really fun. Thanks. Big thanks to Joel. Thanks for everybody hanging with us in the chat today. Got another big nice turnout. Let's see what else we got here in the chat before I kind of call it for the day. It's almost noon here, so I got to start thinking about lunch and stuff. I'd use Fluhar T before Little right now. Moment has looked way too big for Little. Fluhar T has gotten us out of some crazy spots this year. I'm wondering what the conversation is right now between the vets and Little, between the coaching staff and Little. How are they getting his mind right? How are they getting him back on track? Sometimes the work between games can really clean you up, and you can come out with a different, more refocused mindset as you get into your next opportunity. So maybe that's the case for Little. Certainly, I'd be putting in his mind, kind of visualizing himself in a big spot, facing Shohei, how he's going to go about it, visualizing himself having success, and trying to get the mind back into the I can do this type of situation. Have the Dodgers played in a roof-closed Rogers Center yet? That could be a factor. I don't know. Blue Jays fans, was the roof not closed at all during this postseason? And will it definitely be closed with some bad weather coming on? That could be a factor. Maybe we'll do a little quick Googling of the weather in Toronto coming up right now. Should we do that? That'd be fun. Toronto weather for the next few days. Yeah, it looks like it's going to be a little cold. Friday, high of 51, low of 42. Saturday, which is game 2 of the series, high of 52, low of 42. So if the games are at night, you're talking in the 40s. They probably will close the roof. Let's see if we have anything here. Roof was closed for game 6 and 7. Okay, so I think you would want the roof closed. You get a lot more noise bouncing around. The amount of sound in that stadium, it's going to be big time. And I think that's something that I talked about a little bit before the playoffs, was just the noise in Rogers Center a little bit. It definitely affects like the feeling on the field. Now, a lot of times people will say, "Oh, that their stadium's intimidating for the players," and it's really not. Like New Yankee Stadium, it's really not. That sound, almost you don't really feel it that much on the field. To be honest with you, the way that the sound bounces around, it's not as loud or as much of a factor as you would think. But in Rogers Center, it definitely is, especially with the roof closed. Sounds bouncing all over the place, and it feels like it's inside your brain. So, yeah, I expect definitely to see a lot of that. Ooh, 10% chance of rain in LA. That 10% doesn't seem very high considering it's LA and they don't even really have a tarp at Dodger Stadium. So I would expect that to be fine. And at least there's no snow. That would have been a disaster, although they have a roof. They're prepared for it. If you're playing in Minnesota this time of year without the roof and you get snow, now that's a big freaking problem. All right, there's one more thing to look at here. It's actually this article about Sasaki and how much leverage he's taken on in the postseason. It's written by Mike Petriello on MLB.com, but I want to see the number on it really quick. Here it is. Highest postseason leverage index, 21st century. Once you're over 2 in this stat, you're ridiculously high. Like, ridiculously high. Basically, it's all completely up for grabs. At any moment with a 2 or above leverage index, the game is completely in the balance here, and anything you do could lose it. 2.64 for big Bobby Jenks. Remember when Ozzie Guillen came out and did this to the bullpen? I always thought this was amazing. He came out and he was like, "Give me the righty, the big guy." That was Bobby Jenks. R.I.P. Obviously, he passed away, but he had the most leverage last season. Emmanuel Clase, 2.32 leverage index in the 2024 playoffs. Wow, Justin Masterson. I don't know if you guys remember him, but he was a filthy sinker baller. Actually, in my draft class, 2.22 for the 08 Red Sox. Brian Wilson for the Giants, 2010 Giants. Pretty much just fastball cutter with really good command. Obviously, he was a crazy man, but he was awesome. And then Sasaki, 2.15 so far. A lot of that is kind of on the back of that 3-inning outing versus the Phillies in that game that was really tight at Dodger Stadium. When you throw 3 innings in a tie game, extra inning leverage, like that index is going to go through the roof. That was probably over 3, so that probably really boosted it up a lot. But I was curious to see what the number was going to come in at and how high he ranked. So 5th all time in terms of the most leverage he's taken on this year in the bullpen, which is crazy because not that long ago he was in AAA throwing about 94 with absolutely no command and no velocity and no feel. And it's amazing that now he's in here in the biggest moments of the year getting it done. Surprised Yui Hara isn't up there for the Red Sox. I would agree, but this is a very high tough list to crack. Over 2 leverage is ridiculously high, like ridiculously high. So he probably is like in the 1.9s or 1.8s or something like that. But that'd be interesting. Ooh. Can we ask Hyun-Jin Ryu who he is cheering for? Man, I forgot about this guy. This guy was awesome. Kind of a kitchen sink pitcher, great for the Dodgers, pitched for the Blue Jays for a while. He's another guy who could kind of hit, actually. And I used to love watching him and Puig go at it in the dugout. They'd be hitting bats against each other. I always thought, these guys are nuts. People thought Citizens Bank was going to be a problem for the Dodgers. It wasn't. Also, not an intimidating venue either. Loud, not intimidating when you're on the mound, really. So there's certain fields that you can feel the presence while you're actually in game more than others. Some of these ones that get the credit aren't really that scary, to be honest. So I think Rogers Center, though, is up there, and Dodger Stadium as well. Dodger Stadium has a speaker in center field that they've changed it up a little bit, made it nicer over the years, but it used to look like just like a transformer, just like amp on speaker on speaker on speaker on speaker, all in a big, look like, I don't even know what, like an art piece or something. but the noise that would come out of this thing, you could feel it in your chest when you're on the mound. Like Matt Kemp would come up to hit against me. Now batting Matt Kemp, and they'd play his walkout song, whatever, and the bass would just thump in my chest. So you could feel it. Dodger Stadium, that speaker system is legendary. So Dodgers will be used to the loud noises as well. They have the biggest stadium capacity in the league. So I really love this matchup in terms of how the fans will try to affect the game on both sides. But I do think Rogers Center will be a little louder, considering that the roof is closed. Did I like playing in Dodger Stadium? It's my favorite place. I loved it so much, even though I gave it up really bad a lot of times in Dodger Stadium. I've been on the mound. I got walked off on a home run by Chris Taylor. I had one of my worst outings of my career where I threw like 5 wild pitches, but I've also had some of my better outings of my career, and it's just a place I like to be. I would always take the earliest bus possible at Dodger Stadium and just kind of walk around, hang out outside. I just love being there. Something about that ballpark, I don't know, makes me feel so relaxed, especially during the daytime before the game starts and the nerves start kicking in. I just love being there. The air's great. Weather's always great. The vibes. I love the pastel colors of that yellow and the seats and stuff like that. So I did get my ass kicked there a lot, but still loved it. Imagine if the Rogers Center was in Philadelphia. Yeah, well, then if you had that many fans being loud, but the roof was closed, yeah, that'd be pretty good. Although I have to say, these Blue Jay fans, let's not sleep on them. They know how to be loud. That hockey culture. I go back to thinking of the WBC. I was on an Italy team that beat Team Canada in the 09 WBC in Rogers Center, and that crowd was super loud in that game. So anyway, it's pretty interesting. And the Dodger fans, yes, but we have Jason Bateman. Yeah, you'll have a bunch of people at your game that probably didn't show up all year, and then they're there like they're the biggest Dodger fans in the world. So that'd be kind of funny. The only thing that sucks about Dodger Stadium is the traffic. Yeah, it's tough to get to, obviously. But, man, once you're there, for me, it's one of my favorite places to be in the whole entire world. It's fantastic. All right. What else we got here in the chat? I do remember this. For the hat trick, I really believe the Blue Jays have great fans. They really do. In stadium, too. Like, it's so great. If Kendrick Lamar doesn't perform at Game 3, what are we even doing? That's a whole nother aspect of this. I'm not, like, big into the social media pop beefs, rap game beefs, but, yeah, I mean, it's certainly lingering over this series a little bit. Drake, Kendrick Lamar, how's it going to play out? That'll be pretty funny. It'll be pretty good. It gets so loud in Rogers Center the camera can't stay still. Ask Cole Hamels. And now Woo. I guess Cole when he was with the Rangers, right? Yeah. Yeah, and this is another thing. So the new bullpen in Rogers Center, you're kind of in with the crowd. So there is a little bit of an element of you're going to get heckled and it's going to be really loud. And I didn't think it was like intimidating or whatever, but it was just a regular season game when we were there last year. And I'm sure the crowd will be a little bit more juicy. Sometimes this is risky as a fan base because you can get on a guy and it can kind of inspire him and fire him up and he can come out and just shove. Or sometimes it can rattle him. So it can go either way. But yeah, they are like basically in the crowd now in that bullpen. So there's a little bit of a crowd factor as you warm up. That will be interesting to see. You know, when Roki's doing it, it's his first time doing it. So that'll be interesting. All right, what else we got here? Drake hasn't been to a single game yet. If he starts showing up now, he's going to get lambasted. Is he a fair weather Blue Jay fan? All right, let's see here. Has a baseball game ever started with an intentional walk? Would this be a good time to try it? No. Never put a free guy on at the beginning of the game. If it's a home run, it's 1-0. So I think Gosman will go right at Shohei. Maybe not with a fastball first pitch. Maybe it's first pitch split to start off this series. That might be interesting. But anyway. And then, yeah, doesn't Drake still have that Ohtani jersey? So who's he actually rooting for in this? We also know Drake likes to gamble. Is that a factor? Anyway, yeah, 4 straight splitters to Shohei to start off the game, Philip is saying, from Gosman. Gosman did not face the Dodgers in this game. I am kind of curious. Now, we'll probably do a little bit more of this as we go, but maybe if I can go to reference real quick, I can see some splits on Gosman versus maybe some of these batters. I'm sure he's faced a lot of these guys, right? Versus batter. So, Ohtani. Has he faced Mr. Shohei at all? Probably. Versus Gosman. What the fudge? I don't want a head-to-head stats comparison. I want versus batter. Let's try Freeman, because I'm confused why Shohei came up. Maybe because he's a pitcher. Yeah, so, okay. Freddie is 1 for 9 with a home run off of Gosman. He did hit the home run in 2024. Batting average 111, 444 slug. Let's go watch the home run. Gosman versus Freddie. That was 2024. So Dodgers, Blue Jays 2024. Gosman. First at bat, he struck him out, but then he does clip him later on a fly ball to center. Let's watch this whole at bat out of curiosity. Four seam down. He pitched a good game against them in this game. Granted, this is a long time ago, but he's up 3-0 in the 6th. So fastball down, fastball up, and then another fastball. Oh, he just misses down with it, and Freddie's all over it. So that's a typical Freddie home run. He tried to make the perfect pitch. He missed down the middle. Kaboom. He did get him out earlier in the game. Let's see what he strikes him out with at the beginning of the game. Ooh, fastball. Let's see the location. Up middle. Then the second time they faced each other, there was a fly out, also on a fastball. So fastball was the result pitch on all 3 of his at-bats. Well, almost got clipped there. So it seems pretty simple. If Gosman can get the ball up to Freddie with 2 strikes, he can probably get it by him, given that he's geared for the bottom of the zone. So not a lot of this is really relevant, but at the same time, when he did get the fastball up, he struck him out. When he gets it low, it's gotten hit hard both times. This one was not a home run, but it was a little sketchy. There's Springer looking like an old man in 2024. He came back looking like a young man in 2025. So that was interesting. Man, this is such an old matchup, so it's almost not even worth looking at. He did strike out Muncy on a split. So now we're just kind of kicking around a little bit. Muncy on a split. He faced Muncy a second time. Double on a fastball. Kind of middle. And lined out on a split. So gets Muncy out twice on splits. Gives up a hit on a fastball. Okay, how about Mookie? Mookie ground out on a fastball. That was kind of a nothing pitch, but again, pitching away, pitch Mookie away. That's what you're going to see. Flies out on a fastball. Let's see if this is another away target. Actually, it's an up-in target. But you see, even Mookie can almost do damage on a pitch way off the plate in. Just misses this. I mean, look at that. That's pretty far in. Pops it up. 99-1. Just misses it. So you got to stay away on Mookie. This has been the case for years. At what point does Mookie decide he can take a hit the other way, or does he continue to try to pull? This one got above the zone. So, all right. So the plan to Mookie from Kevin is obviously to stay away. This is him versus Shohei. First at bat with a split. See, we're digging way back in the archives to see these matchups. Ooh, Shohei looked good on that split. And mind you, he's seen a ton of splits in his life. Going back to Japan, almost everybody has one. So even though Gosman and Yasavage have some of the best splits in the game, Shohei's seen a lot of that, so I think Shohei's in a good spot matching up against actually both of those pitchers. Although I give you Savage a little bit of an advantage because he hasn't seen him yet. There he gets him out with a fastball in off the plate. So that's ideally, that's what you want to do. Right on left versus Shohei. Speed him up inside. And if you get past that pitch, you slow him down later. But early in the count, there's some action in sometimes. And then he punches him out this time. So let's watch this at bat. Then I think we're probably going to wrap it up. After maybe a little bit more in the chat. This has been a great stream today. Remember, we're not going to do it tomorrow. But Friday, we're going to have a good one with Kevin Kiermaier will be my guest, probably for the entire stream. So that should be great. He's going to kind of be a co-host with me. And he played on both of these teams, so we're going to get a lot of good insight from KK. All right, fastball. Catches him looking in. That was kind of a lucky pitch. Shohei doesn't like it. All right, so he handled Shohei decent, but Shohei looked good on the split. That's good to note. It's a couple years ago, but okay, good to note. And if you can get the fastball up to Freddie, that looks like a safe spot relative to down. Mookie just got to stay away, basically. I don't love the split to strike to Mookie from Gauze. But you know what? We'll just have to kind of see. All right, we got some questions here. In the offseason, if you can stomach it, can you watch the 5 wild pitch game and tell us what happened? Yeah, sure. I can. I have no shame. I'll show you all my shitty outings, and I'll tell you all about what I was thinking. I was thinking making a whole video on my running game struggles, so we got a lot of good options for creativity this offseason. Last year was also the year Gosman entered the season with shoulder fatigue and didn't pitch his best, so you got to take it with a grain of salt. I was just curious to see what the overall attack strategy was versus those big three and how that might be shaping up. So we got a little bit of information on that. What happens if your Savage gets beat? He's definitely not used to this. He might be that guy, but sometimes you can't help the fatigue. He might get beat. We've looked at the roadmap for Trey Savage to struggle, and it comes to you don't chase, and the Dodgers are amazing at not chasing, so that lines up. And his ability to throw his off-speed pitches for strikes. You know, if he doesn't have that and they wait him out, he can get himself in some trouble and become a little bit of a one-trick pony with his fastball. But if he gets ahead in the count, I fully expect him to do well. They haven't seen him yet. The angle's tough to handle, and that split's really good. He's just a good pitcher, but he can get beat for sure like anybody. That's the way the big leagues is. I'd be curious to see if the Dodgers hedge a little more right-handed in the lineup, and I bet they will. I think the whole bottom of that order that day versus Savage will probably be right-handed, so we'll see how they work that. Do I think Savage needs a fourth pitch next time as a full-time starter? I think that remains to be seen in terms of it being a need. I know that they will attempt to develop ones. Anything that goes left. He needs anything that goes left. Cutter, sweeper, doesn't even matter. Weird slider, just something that goes left. Because right now, everything, both of his off-speed pitches go right. And all of his effectiveness is in the north-south plane. So it'd be nice to get a little bit of east-west going to kind of contrast off that. But I don't think it's a must based on how dominant he's been. I would say let him pitch his style for the most part, work that pitch behind the scenes, and deploy it when needed. Muncy's a high ball hitter, so Gosman should have a decent matchup living low in the zone. I would say generally yes, but Max Muncy is one of the best at strike zone awareness and pitch judgment. You know, swing decisions. Gosman's always playing that bottom rail line. So in theory, yes, he should have a slight advantage on Muncy, but Muncy also has the ability to flip the script with just one or two good takes in an at-bat and kind of force them to come to him. So we'll see. I know he's pretty good at hitting the high heater, but I think that Gauze will have to use both up and down versus Muncy to keep him honest if they face each other more than a couple times. I'm obsessed with how every veteran Jays player talks about how good the team is to the families. Maybe Brett can get on one day and explain what it's like for the families and team liaisons. Yeah, I would love to get the wife on. She can speak to this. Some people that have been good, some teams that haven't been so good. So yeah, we can do that in the off season for sure. A-Rod called Sheho on the Shohei Sheho. I don't know. A-Rod said that Vlad was the best hitter in the world, which he's great. I've done 2 videos on him. I freaking love Vlad. I'm obsessed with his hitting. He's not the best hitter in the world. He's at best in the top 7. But, I mean, Aaron Judge exists. Let's not forget that. Okay, what else we got? Is this happening? Is this Savage now game 1? I thought Gosman was announced as game 1 starter. If this is not the case, I would love to know. Mookie's podcast last year, if Dodgers World Series win, Freddie talked about how he was playing chess against Garrett Cole. Could you get into that viewing in the pitcher's POV? Yeah, like when two great guys are going head to head, like a Garrett Cole and a Freddie Freeman, there's only so many ways it can go, and I actually think it makes sense for the hitters at times to play a little chess back to the pitcher. Now, typically it's the pitchers who are trying to set up the hitters, and hitters are more in a reactive mode. But I like when the hitter flips the script on that and says, "No, what this is? You know what? This is the pitch I want, and I'm going to find a way to get it." So, what could that look like? That could look like intentionally letting one go in a good place to hit, so it looks like you're not looking for that, and then being ready for it next. Manny Ramirez used to do that a lot. Intentionally take that slider strike and look like he's not interested in it, or look really bad on it on purpose to get another one and then smash it. Or it could look like, being really on time with a fastball first at bat, but then laying in the weeds for something else second at bat. So there's a lot of mental gymnastics that go on in these at bats, particularly when the best of the best are going head to head. Garrett's trying to analyze what Freddie's looking for. Freddie's trying to analyze what Garrett is going to throw. And so, you're trying to maybe do something out of character to throw the other guy off to then, get something in return for it a couple pitches later. Certainly that can happen, but I love when hitters take advantage of their power in this dynamic and they go ahead and set them up, because it's really hard as a pitcher to feel out when you're getting set up. It just really is. Like you try to sniff it out, but if a hitter is really good at it, it's almost undetectable if they're looking for one pitch the whole at bat, and you might end up throwing it there and getting clipped. So it's tough. Let's see here. Are we just expecting every Dodger starter to go 6 shutout? I don't expect every Dodger pitcher to go 6 shutout. They're capable of doing it, but I think at some point the Jays get to one of these first 2 or 3 guys. Otherwise, it's going to be a quick series. If they're getting 6 every time and they're dominating on the mound, I don't think the Blue Jays have enough pitching to match it 0s for 0. So they're going to need their offense to do something against these pitchers, particularly the first 3 games. Like, they got to muck it up. They got to get more starters in there. So I know that everybody's just expecting it like it's a foregone conclusion in some ways, but I don't think that's the case. I really don't. Is it fair to say that Vlad has been the best hitter in the postseason? Yes. Given sample size, yes, he has been. He has been. So maybe that's what he was saying. But he called him the best hitter in the world, and I just have to fact check that a little bit. That's all. He's great, but there are better. That's my opinion. So this is the fear if you're a Dodger fan. Yama has occasionally blown up, although it's pretty rare. Snell, if he's out of the zone, if it's one of those days where his delivery's a little off and they decide to be patient, not really a Jays thing being patient, but if they decide to be patient, maybe you get him to throw a lot of pitches, you get yourself in some runners in scoring position situations, which then works really well for the Jays because they're a very good contact team. So when they need a single, they're a great team to call. They're a great team to be when you just need a single. So I could see that, but that's what you're hoping for, the other guy to kind of stink. Like, how are you going to take it to these guys? Is the idea to be aggressive because they're going to throw strikes, or is the idea to be patient and hope they dig themselves their own hole? Against Yamamoto, I think you're better off. He's probably not going to be wild. Snell, there's a chance, so maybe you see. But again, this is going to be a fascinating couple matchups and showdowns here. You just have to see how these guys come out of the gate, and also remember, first inning might be the only opportunity. A lot of times the best starters, they're vulnerable in the first, and then after that, they're not. Have I ever seen one of these traject machines in real life? Yes, absolutely I have, because the Mets have them. The Red Sox had them. Red Sox had them in spring training. I have a video here that I'll show you on my phone here in a second if I can find it. I got to find Trevor's story. 2 years ago, he sent me a video of him hitting a home run off of me on the traject down in the Fenway batting cage. It's not a great clip here, but I'm going to play it real quick. He pimps a home run off me, and that's me on the screen back there. You can't really tell, but that's me throwing him a sweeper on the traject machine, which obviously pitchers don't like this machine because you get a better feel for the pitcher's angle and timing and stuff. But every team has them, and it's a pretty damn good invention, and also they cost a lot of money. So yeah, he is laughing all the way to the bank. Whoever created that. I wish I would have created that. Maybe I need to come up with a baseball tech project. Maybe that's the play. All right, here we go. And this is kind of how I feel. I don't feel like Snell's going to be shaky because I think he's at the peak of his powers right now. I think he's going to pour in strikes. I think he's going to use all his pitches. I think he's the best Dodger pitcher right now. So I'm expecting more maybe out of the Jays in game 2. But again, anything can happen. They have just been playing baseball. They have a lot of mojo. If Snell's going to be vulnerable, I look for it to be early. All right, what else we got? Oh, yeah. On the traject, it shows a full video of the pitcher pitching to you, and the pitches are the exact average shapes that you produce. So my sweeper was coming out with like 18 inches, 0 vert, 18 inches horizontal. So when they're facing me, the programmer back there with the little pad can show where in the zone he wants the pitch to be. So if Story's getting ready to face me, he can program sweeper away and then a sinker in on the very next pitch. So it's kind of realistic. They can go out there and try to give you at bats. So you get to go up to the box having felt like you faced the pitcher a few times. What a freaking advantage! Something that they've never had in their in the entire existence of hitting. Now, it's not a perfect machine. It doesn't do extension, so it doesn't really give you the full experience of the perceived velocity of a pitcher. But other than that, it's pretty damn cool, man. Pretty damn cool. I have to say, a lot of pitchers are haters on it. They like to cry about a lot of shit, but ultimately, I thought it was a pretty cool piece of technology. Are there any teams that don't have it? I don't know. Maybe the Rockies. I was in Denver yesterday. I didn't go down to the clubhouse, so I don't know. But maybe not the Rockies. Maybe a couple other teams. But yeah, it'd be pretty cool. Hedges has patents, I think, for a certain helmet, a concussion-proof helmet-ish. Again, these are good ideas. And I have one really good idea for isometric holds for pitchers that I'm starting to work on a little bit with a guy, but then he went and moved back to Australia, so... But yeah, we're going to come up with some products maybe in the future. Things that can help kids train, help kids stay healthy, help pitchers, things like that. But the trajectory was a freaking good idea. I wish I had that idea. I still do this, Dano. This is how I practice my sinker and my changeup for years. Always drawing the dot on the ball. I think it's a really good training tool. In fact, when I'm running an organization, I'm going to have a lot of my position players, especially my outfielders, throw with a perfect backspin marked up ball so they can learn how to have more carry on their throws, and we can be a better throwing team than the other teams. I have a lot of basic little ideas like that will work. Wow, they have to lease them month to month. I thought they bought them big. There's just so much money. They're like over $100K for the hardware. The one of the Mets batting cage is pretty cool. You see all the machinery behind it that kind of sets it up and does everything it does. The truth is, though, the Mets didn't use it much that first year. They just used it to kind of watch pitches. Not a lot of guys hit off them. I think that now that they have balls now that are a little softer, so when you get it off the end or you get jammed, you don't hurt your hands. I think that's what was annoying a lot of hitters before, is like they go to practice, but they're getting blown up like the whole day, and that's not a very good thing. Going into the game, you want to have confidence. So now that they made where like there's not as much pain if you get blown up because the ball's a little squishier, but it has the same action, then it's a really good training tool. If I was a hitter, I'd certainly use it for sure. Oh yeah, and then I heard, so the Angels probably don't have a traject too. If Kikuchi says they don't even have AC in their gym, that's not a good sign. I did see congrats to Kurt Suzuki getting hired as Angels manager. I think he's going to be great. He knows the game really well. Catchers are usually pretty good managers, although you wonder why that is with all the concussions. But, I think he's going to be pretty good. He's very well respected. Big California guy, too. Cal State Fullerton guy, I believe. Kurt Suzuki. So, in his own stopping grounds, he is now the manager. That's pretty cool. Thanks, Bryn. Appreciate that. Yeah, so traject, I mean, every team's got it. One of the things I was talking about actually with the Yankees facing Savage was the fact that if they were at home, they would have definitely seen Savage on the traject, although I don't even know if the traject screen goes high enough to get Savage's release height. But if they did have that, they would have had a much better sense for the angle that he was approaching them with. That's not the way it went down. They had just beat the Red Sox. Schlittler pitched that great game to eliminate the Red Sox. They went straight to Toronto, where they don't bring the trajectory on the road. It's not. You can't travel with it. So at best, they could like put like a pitching machine up on like on a plyo box and aim it down and try to shoot at Savage's angle. At most, that's how they could have maybe practiced, but they would have loved to have the trajectory. And you did see how they had no idea how to hit that guy the first time they saw him. So it'll be interesting. Interesting to see. Andrew Friedman is kind of known for preferring players from the Rays, seeing how Snell studies batters during the game. Would having the same system, which probably he may lead to such tendency. Okay, this is a misnomer. With the Rays, their system is throw the ball right down the fucking middle. That's their system. Their system is, this is how you're optimized. Throw it down the middle. Command's not a thing. Setting hitters up is not a thing. Just pitch to the blue spots in the heat map and it'll work. And a lot of times it does work because these guys have had elite stuff. And the Trop was a great place to pitch. And Snell always had great stuff. But if you listen to Snell in the interviews, where does he say he learned to pitch? Not with the Rays. He learned to pitch with the Giants, hanging out with Logan Webb a lot. Logan Webb taught him how to pitch, how to read hitters, how to get quick outs, how to become more than just a strikeout or walk pitcher. So to me, that was the real key. So it's really not pertinent at all what he learned with the Rays and what Andrew Friedman, maybe his system was a part of when Snell was over there. It's much more, interesting to know that he learned how to pitch in his time with the Giants. So the style that Blake Snell pitches now, the style that is really gotten him to this next freaking level, which we saw this last game, really involves a lot of strike one, a lot of throwing what the hitters don't want, a lot of changeup usage, which wasn't a thing for him with the Rays, really, not to the same extent. And so to me, it's a different pitcher than he was with the Rays. So there's no overlap there. Let's see here. Yeah, Friedman hasn't been with the Rays for a while anyway. No, he's got nasty stuff. I'm not saying he's a gimmick, but every pitcher has a presentation like that every hitter has to get comfortable with, and a big part of his nastiness is the uniqueness of his presentation, the way his ball kind of downshoots, the way the arm's way up top. So, you just want to get eyes on it if you're a hitter more than anything. You just want eyes on it. It feels to me like Tony Vitello is trying to get more money out of Tennessee. The fact that he hasn't accepted the job yet tells me that maybe he's looking to get more money out of Tennessee, or he's really grinding down Buster over there with the negotiations. This is such an interesting hire. I don't really know a lot about it. I've loved watching Vitello talk. I think you could tell he's going to crush any interview he goes in. But I have no idea how this translates. I have no idea his skill set as a manager. So it'll be interesting if he does get the Giants job. But I know the University of Tennessee boosters are pissed at the AD right now, and there's a lot of pressure. And maybe that's what this is all about, is just to get more money. He's already making $3 million a year at Tennessee. Maybe he gets $5 million, to be the king of Knoxville. So I don't know. Be curious to see how that one plays out. And if that falls through, Buster should give me a call. That's all I'm saying. Google says trajectory was invented by 2 Canadians. Wow, there you go. Canadian tech winning out. And then kind of crazy, a Savage's slider goes to the right. So we talked about that a little bit. The uniqueness of that slider, the weirdness of that slider, and now he needs to develop something going left eventually. But for now, lean into that's your weird. So that's it. Can Bo play any position on the field like second base? No, I think he's a shortstop maybe, but second base is not his comfort zone either. So I think he's DH or pinch hit. If he plays the infield, I'd be shocked. Sleeper World Series MVP pick. Well, I think if it's the Dodgers, there's no sleeper pick. It's going to be Shohei, or it's going to be Snell or Yamamoto, one of the big-time guys, maybe Sasaki. But if it's the Blue Jays, I think you can find some sleepers. I think Clement would be my pick. I'm with Jake here. Ernie Clement could be, if he goes out here and gets 8 or 9 hits in this series and mucks it all up, he could be the Tommy Edman of last year for the Dodgers, the way that he did it in the CS last year versus us with the Mets. So Clement would be my sleeper pick for World Series MVP just based on how hot he's been lately and you could really mess stuff up. All right, I think that we're gonna call it. This has been a long stream. You guys have been awesome. You guys have hung with me a long time. I will be back on Friday, 10:30, dual stream over here on my channel, of course. So mostly come over here, please. And then MLB as well. That will be simulcast. We will have Kevin Kiermaier on the entire day. That day, I think. And then we'll go from there. We'll get his insight. We'll get ready for game one. We're gonna watch all of Snell's outing versus this Dodger team that only happened in August to get a little inkling of how he might go about this game and what he's thinking going into it. Because, against this Jays team, because it's going to be fascinating to watch that matchup, the Jays contact offense versus Snell, and we'll see how that goes. So that's what we're looking at tomorrow. On Friday. Tomorrow there will be no stream, so enjoy a Thursday off from me. And I kind of have withdrawal. I kind of already want to do another one, but I don't really have the time or the material. Friday, we've kind of gone over this series a lot of different ways, but Friday we can really hone in on game one, and that's what we should do. So if I change my mind or if I find another opportunity, you'll see it upcoming on the channel. But if not, I'll see you guys on Friday, and we'll get ready for game one of the World Series. So thanks so much for hanging out with me. Big thanks to Joel Sherman for coming on and talking a little bit about this series. That's the first non-former player or current player we've had on, which I thought was fun. We'll have all sorts of different people on this offseason. Joel's a good friend, so that was nice. And anyway, thanks a lot, you guys, for hanging with me, and I will see you guys on Friday. All right, peace out. And check out this awesome picture of me and Joel, Brian Kenny, and Dan O'Dowd from MLB Network as my goodbye picture today. It's pretty funny. It was a snow day a few years ago. So, all right, adios. Bye-bye.